That's Joey Jojo's favorite song in the whole world. This is the Bennington Show. Back live. Ron Bennington, Gail Bennington.
Yo.
Joey Jojo Bennington. We're doing Black Rock Coalition Week.
Yes.
Out of all the songs that we could have used, that was the least rockiest.
I know. It's not that rocky. It's a little poppy.
Joey loves it, though.
It's my favorite Prince song.
Why? Because you can sing in that key and other humans can't?
Yeah.
When you were mine, I used to live in St. Paul with my sisters and bro.
That's me!
And that song meant a lot to you as a child, huh?
Yeah, it was just so hit. It's such a hip song. Came out when disco was kind of fading, but it just has a really hip sound, even now, in 2015.
So, to you, that represents pure hipness.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say so.
You have a purity to your hipness, and you found it now. This is the Bennington Show. Lots to talk about today. But before we do that, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has put out their list of inductees, and they allow people to vote on them. And I'll just read them off quick before we talk about it. The Cars, Chic, Chicago. Now, let me just point this out. The band and not the city.
All right.
I know everybody has Cub fever right now.
I was confused.
Cheap Trick, Deep Purple, Janet Jackson, the JBs, Shaka Khan, Los Lobos, Steve Miller, Nine Inch Nails, NWA, The Smiths, The Spinners, and a band simply known as Yes. I don't know why my phone screen turned completely light green.
Wow.
Are we doing a St. Patrick's theme day today?
Fun theme.
But it looks like when you touched it, it went back to white. Right now, it looks like a sick person urinated all over it. I don't even think you have to worry about it. I can see through the urine color, and I think we'll be fine.
Looks dehydrated.
Now, you look this over, and if I was voting, I'm clicking yes for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone would get in this year because there are people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who've probably done less than any of these bands.
Yeah, there's none in there that I would say, whoa, they don't deserve it at all and ever.
Well, here's the deal. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame used to be more fun when they would be more exclusive. As they've gotten inclusive, and you don't have the Kiss and Rush people fighting every week, it's less fun. It was more fun then.
Yeah.
And then you could sit around and go, look, if you don't have Kiss in, you can't have this band in. They opened for Kiss. So there's no one, like, right off the bat, would you put the Cars in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Obviously. Yes. I love the Cars.
So why aren't they in already? This seems like it would have been a slam dunk years ago.
Now, what is the amount of years that it is?
I think it's 20 years since your first record.
Okay.
So the Cars were eligible since like 96, 97.
Yeah.
Chic is one of those bands that even though they weren't around it a while, they were the biggest band in the world at one time. What's the band who did Where Is the Love and all that craziness back in the 2000s?
Black Eyed Peas?
All right, the Black Eyed Peas. Chic was the Black Eyed Peas of their day. Like, it's hard to remember when the Black Eyed Peas were the biggest band in the world, but don't kid yourself, they were.
They really were.
And they would go to Ethiopia and draw just as well as when they went to St. Louis. I mean, it didn't matter where that band went.
Right.
People showed up. And after a while, everyone starts saying, you know who I hate? And you know they were going to say Black Eyed Peas. But it didn't take away the fact that they were that popular. 866-766-0339. 866-766-0339. If you want to get in on this. But it's tough to see who wouldn't go in. Chicago, again, no one sits around and said, oh, I love Chicago. And that's because you weren't in a high school band in the fucking 70s and 80s. But if you were, you showed up at Chicago shows. Every kid in this country who was forced to play a fucking horn of some type, they were like, you know what band I like? And I go, yeah, I can see from your chin strap scar, you're a big fucking Chicago fan. I get it. There's nothing for you to relate to outside of this band. I mean, even the only band that you would probably go to see instead of Chicago is the USC Trojans. That's how much they sounded like a marching band. But if we're just going on the criteria that we have now and the bands that they left in, yeah, obviously you have to let Chicago in.
I agree. Even though I don't know anyone who would say, you know, my favorite band is Chicago.
Well, then I want you to call your grandfather because I'm sure he's a fan. Cheap Trick is up. And I'll just speak for every lover of power pop in the world. If you even go back to that When You Were Mine, which he's calling hip, that was a power pop song, in my opinion.
Yes.
Cheap Trick, one of the great lead singers of all time, great guitar player in that band, fantastic rhythm section. The bands that are already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you got to let Cheap Trick in there.
And that's another one that seems like would have been in a while ago, considering some of the people they've put in before.
Because they used to, it used to be a critics, really, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you can see why critics were saying there's not enough weight to this music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need a little weight before I'm going to let somebody in. And a critic can get away with that, but the fans, and they let the fans vote now, you're going to be fucked.
It was never a fan vote situation before that?
No, it was basically, I used to say it was Jan Wenner's fucking album collection, because it was him and his writers throughout the years. But you could look at look at how it's changed over the years. Deep Purple, another band, not a lot of weight to it. But the fact of the matter is, if you like metal music, if you like that 80s metal music, you have to look back to see where it came from.
Yeah.
Deep Purple is part of that. You know what I mean? That's a deal. If you're looking at all the roots of rock,
yeah,
this is, root music for them.
Yeah. It's, pioneers of metal.
Metal pioneers. I'm a highway star. You can't get around that. Janet Jackson, and I call her Miss Jackson because I'm nasty.
I know.
Again, not a lot of weight to it, but if you're letting the pop acts in, we can't forget that there was a nation of rhythm in this country for a while.
It was gigantic.
We were a rhythm nation. What are you going to do? There are people worse than her. The JBs, now, everybody knows, I think, the Famous Flames were James Brown's first band, but I think the JBs, or some variation of that, were his backup crew for this. They've let backup bands in now, right?
Yeah.
E Street got in years after Bruce Springsteen. I think the Jordanaires went in. So we're making a spot for backup bands. And this was, look, to work in James Brown's band meant that if the guy suddenly just threw a left hand up where he'd never had before, you had to be ready to go, you know what I mean? Nobody who backed up James Brown could be fucking thinking about their laundry list. You had to pay attention.
Focus.
Those dudes were on the edge at all times.
All times.
Do not take your eyes off of James Brown.
Because if he hops, he wants a bam, 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 where it never was in another concert before. It was a very difficult position. Shaka Khan.
Obviously. Miss Shaka.
Yeah. There's people that haven't done what Shaka Khan has done. First of all, the weird thing about Shaka Khan, not a lot of hit records there, but I think everyone in the world, if you said Shaka Khan to them, would know the name immediately.
That alone should get you.
And immediately start to go, Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
I mean, your grandmother would do that right now. Babies would do that. Los Lobos. Now we run into a little bit of trouble. Not a big band. Terrific band. But I would make this case. Isn't it time that we have some Mexican Americans in this?
They should be represented.
We don't use this term Chicanos much anymore. I still do.
Good.
Dating myself.
Keep it alive.
Yeah. I think they're a terrific band.
Yeah, they are. I don't know if they're as household namey as the other ones, but that shouldn't be what this is based on either.
That's the way it used to be.
Right.
It used to be not be on how many records that you sold, but what you brought to this. I'm just going to throw in Los Lobos and say, you know what? Not Donald Trump isn't voting for this Los Lobos.
Right.
Okay.
Sure. So you will.
Yeah.
You'll do what he'll never do.
And I would now also say this: in this case, the wolf will survive. Okay. You. Steve Miller. This guy was a joker, a toker, a midnight fucking smoker. He had a song that mentioned literally every single city. He took the money and ran with it.
Yes.
I would have bet money he was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I can't believe he's
You're
not.
Here's
you're
why
not that
he
good of a
wasn't.
gambler, though.
He was a popular person who the critics found to be somewhat disgusting, and he lowered the bar of his entertainment. You know what I mean? Like, he's a much better guitar player than people know because he put out pop songs.
Right.
But I remember when Clapton did it himself. Clapton would, not put out everything bluesy. He sang little fucking pop songs as well. Again, if you let these other bands in, how do you not let in Steve Miller? 9 Inch Nails.
Avi.
Yeah, why are we even having you can't even have a conversation.
First battle.
Don't be silly.
Yeah. You got to tear off the doors for those boys. NWA, you know what? They made what, a record and a half?
Pretty much.
Then they put out a movie, and everybody in the world went to it for some reason.
Sure.
I guess there's enough time now not to be afraid of them. The Smiths. Oh, boy.
I like the Smiths. I know you don't, but I like the Smiths.
I don't have the self-hate.
See, I was once a moody teenage girl, and I feel like...
And here's a band of moody teenage girls that you could identify
Exactly.
with.
These girls are just like me.
I'll just point this out. Morrissey was not sexually assaulted. I saw the video yesterday.
I did see it.
At the thing.
Well,
The airport?
Yeah.
as much as I can't see what's going on specifically with the hands, didn't seem like someone who was reacting like someone who was sexually assaulted.
I realized that I could walk through there, have my balls cupped, and not feel like I was sexually assaulted.
No, it's just you're at the airport. It's uncomfortable.
You'd
Whatever.
have to get penetration before you started to be like, wait a second.
But when you get penetration from a doctor and no one leaves there saying, I've been sexually assaulted.
This doctor's a rapist. Does anyone realize this? Yeah, Morrissey's just making much ado about nothing.
Or he had a traumatic problem when he was a child, and this is how he sees it.
Yes.
I don't know, if you go to, we're always bringing that up, but if you go to a dentist, strangers have their fingers in your mouth, and that seems to me to be much more invasive than having your balls cupped.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
But I don't think that should keep him out. Let's keep that aside. I still think the Smiths go in.
We're at a point now that we're out to please every, kind of fan. And I will agree with you that Morrissey and his early band, the Smiths, pleased a certain amount of people. The Spinners, a.k.a. the Detroit Spinners, please, I have no problem with that at all.
Who would?
Anyone who does is blaming racist. Yes. Let me just explain something about the band. Yes.
Okay.
They would come into New York City and almost be artists in residence at fucking Madison Square Garden. They would do 10, 12 nights at Madison Square Garden. Now, like a drunken makeout with a fat girl, we've all decided we don't remember how big prog rock was. I can honestly say, I didn't own any prog rock albums myself, but I could sing along with thousands of songs,
Right.
including most of the Yes catalog because it played somewhere I was at.
I think that's my relationship with Yes as well, is like a superficial, like I've never delved into what's going
Right.
on there, but you can't deny that.
But then you're going to find yourself long distance. Everyone does it. To not put Yes in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and to put some of these other bands in there under the new rules of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this is ridiculous. It shouldn't even be discussed. You know?
Yeah.
Rick Wakeman was such a wizard with the keyboards that he dressed like an actual wizard on stage.
This is how I identify, since I'm so wizardy.
I think he was even introduced as, and on keyboards, the wizard, Rick Wakeman. All right, here's Barry in Florida. Barry.
Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, buddy.
You know, I grew up about the same generation you did, and I've tried listening to Morrissey. I've tried listening to the Smiths because I know there must be something there because people go ape shit over him.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I mean, I really, I've heard almost every one of his songs. Okay, there must be something somewhere.
Look, I feel the same way, but Kathleen from the Bronx, who I agree with on 93% of our
Yes.
musical taste, loves this fucking vegan. Loves it.
I know.
We're the
I just
same
wish
way.
I
We
could get
agree
it.
on most
I
everything.
can get a lot of groups. I mean, I don't like Lady Gaga, but I get it, but
Right.
I still don't get Morrissey and the Smiths. I just don't. So
Some
I don't know.
people don't. So you would keep Morrissey out of this entire list.
I don't see any vocal talent. I don't see
Come
anything in
on.
his whining. I know, Gail. I don't. Tell me.
Well,
what I'm
but you understand that there are great singers who don't necessarily have great voices. There are people that I
sure.
consider
Yeah,
great
yeah.
singers that would not pass any kind of vocal test
And-
that you could provide.
And I won't even fight someone who says they don't like the Smiths, but you have to see that they have a place of value for certain people. You could say the same about Yes. I mean, there's a couple people on this list that maybe Chicago is not going to be your thing.
We
but
all
you're
agree.
You know.
We agree on that.
The Smiths should be the new Kiss, where they just never get in, and so their fans are getting pissed
No,
off.
the problem is once you let Kiss in, you can't have a new Kiss because we always had Kiss and Rush, and that made for a different thing of, okay, I understand this is about the critics, right? Now, the fact is, would anyone have a problem if Johnny hung up any of these pants in the Hard Rock? No, you wouldn't. And now that's what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has become, the Hard Rock. Once you let Kiss in, you can't act like, now we're going to go back to our old way because now you have Kiss to
Right.
fucking support that, So you've lost that critical edge that you had before. Here is Eric in Kentucky.
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I think we should have Johnny put up Morrissey's pants from the airport the other day.
There's a hole in him where the guy kept rubbing his finger on his crotch.
Okay, there's your problem.
Yeah.
See how you thought this was sexual assault.
That's the biggest problem.
For me, man, I mean, it doesn't get any better than the Detroit Spinners. That's just tremendous, in my opinion. I think they're somewhat underrated. So I would love to see them go in. 9 Inch Nails, that was, to date myself a little bit here, but I had a 9 Inch Nails sticker on my drum set in high school. Loved that shit. I'm not, they were so innovative at the time with the industrial kind of electronic
They changed
rock.
music in their time. There's no doubt about it. Fucking people start to lean in going, how are they making those noises? Are there metal drums?
It was amazing.
Are there beating on oil drums? What has happened here? What has happened to my beloved music? And that's great. That's why in the old days you would have said, 9 Inch Nails, yes. Spinners, no, because Spinners did not change music. They were great, fun little singers and dancers. Obviously the time that they went on television with giant rubber bands and were dancing with them during Rubber Band Man. You could make the point for that. But the truth about the Spinners is you couldn't name anyone who was in the Spinners. They were just the Spinners. If they showed up with eight different Spinners, you'd fall for it. So the Spinners would have easily been kept out before, but how do you keep them out now? You cannot. Here is Jim in Indiana.
Hey, Ron. I was going to say about the Smiths. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you and that other guys. Like, I tried to like them, and they were the critics' darlings and all this, but it's not just that they appeal to us, but they've influenced, like, tons of people.
Yes, but did they influence them in the correct way, right? So that's the thing. You can now look back and go, oh, Journey was a much bigger influence than we thought, but not towards good. You know what I mean? You can say the same thing even about a lot of different bands that influence people. I would make the debate of this. Michael Jackson's influence probably hurt music more than it helped music. The way that he brought dance and that Broadway style into things probably hurt actual music in the long run.
Yeah.
His willingness to not care about lyrics probably hurt music in the wrong one. Now, would I say yes to Michael Jackson? Of course. First ballot. But being an influence always isn't the best thing. Fucking Hitler was an influence. And yes, we went that long before we brought up Hitler into this discussion. It's 866-766-0339, 866-766-0339. This used to be a fun break to have every year. Now it is not, because the gates are open. Everyone can run through.
It's a bum rush.
Everyone gets a participation award.
Yes. That thing that you folks have acted like has destroyed the United States. That little kids get a trophy.
That child better not feel good about himself.
Don't you fucking feel special?
And by the way, no one feels special when they get a participation award.
They know what it is.
Their moms feel more special than anyone. Carla wants to jump in on the Morrissey debate. Carla.
Yeah. Rock and roll, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations has definitely become a joke in the past few years. And everybody's confused about what are they looking for. But when you talk about the Smiths, forget about Morrissey, forget about his antics, and he's off the charts nut. But the Smiths were influential. I happen to be a big fan of the Smiths. I'm also a big fan of a lot of other music. Music is not necessarily good or bad. You can't really put a good or a bad on it. It's just someone listening to it, they enjoy it. I enjoy the Smiths. I definitely think they deserve a spot.
But the enjoyment level is not what it was ever about initially in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There are plenty obviously Barry Manilow has sold 100 million records. He's brought enjoyment to a lot of people. American Idol brought enjoyment to a lot of people, a chance for them to forget about their day's struggles as they sat in front of their TV with pop music on. But that's not the criteria we are talking about here.
A Celine Dion.
Isn't the criteria also how they influenced music, which they did in the alternative music scene? For sure. Right?
I think not so much in this country as in England. I think there is certainly one of those bands, and there's a lot of great bands that didn't travel as well. You know what I mean? Like, they had hits in England. They did not necessarily have hits here.
Yeah.
Which is true of a lot of really, really great musicians.
That's true.
Didn't mean as much here.
There was a disconnect. There was just a disconnect between the British and us with this Morrissey obsession.
Unless there were some people who, like, they just didn't listen. It was either the Smiths were either your favorite band or not something you cared about at all, I think is the way it went. And people went through their periods. I guess if I was suicidal at this time, I would have loved to fucking been looking at my razor, listening to the music, looking at my razor. What do I do? Do I kill myself? Do I just...
Tell me, Morrissey.
Maybe there's someone out there for me.
I don't know, just like a girl who wants to like wear black and burn some incense. Either way.
I get that completely. I mean, there's not enough eyeshadow for me on this planet. I get people go through times. Let's just leave this up to Joey Jojo, a man who had the balls to bring in a Prince Cassio song and call it rock today. Joey, where are you on this?
I'm kind of in the same boat with you in the sense that I've listened to the Smiths a lot, and I can see why they're influential, and all my friends enjoy them, but I just never got into them. I don't know why, but...
You don't believe him at all?
I'm calling shenanigans on this. I guarantee he listened to the Smiths in high school or college.
Yeah, and I totally did, but after high school, can't really give you too much.
That's true of a lot of music.
So you listened to them and enjoyed them then.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They had a time and a place for me.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that, but I listened to them to try and discover them, feel them out, and now I just never got.
Do you go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with them?
Not this year, no.
Not this year.
He cannot put his foot down.
No,
this
they
is
don't
the
go
problem.
They go in.
Screw
Everybody
Morrissey.
goes in this year. Everyone goes in.
Everybody gets a trophy.
It just doesn't matter anymore. They fucked it up where it mattered. The Baseball Hall of Fame, you used to really be able to fight about, and no one could even say, hey, just, this person belongs because look at the team. Those were endless amount of fights, and the enjoyable ones. That's how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also used to be. Football Hall of Fame, if you played quarterback, you went in. No matter what happened, all the quarterbacks go in. That's it.
Is Baseball Hall of Fame different now? Now they let more people in?
It got really hurt by a couple of things. Number one, the steroid years of, if you even played during the steroid years, even though you were not accused or no tests came back, couldn't even been a rumor. People were still like, yeah, that was the steroid years though.
Everyone
Let's face it. And it's very hard to fight. Mythology has changed. We don't have the same kind of mythology. Like, Chris, who's your generation's baseball player?
Derek Jeter.
No. You take Derek Jeter, and everybody will agree all the numbers are there. He's going first ballot Baseball Hall of Fame. But do you think of Derek Jeter the way you would think of a Joe DiMaggio, a Mickey Mantle, a Lou Gehrig, a Babe Ruth? No. Because the world has changed. And people thought of Joe DiMaggio that way while he played. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that kind of mythical stuff.
But do you think, you think it's of the time then? Like if those players existed currently, maybe
you wouldn't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle would be considered a good ball player, but there would be rumors about him and people would bring out. But I said this before about Jackie Robinson. Now he didn't play, at any time that I remember, but I grew up reading about baseball, and I've seen plenty of film. You do not watch film where he struck out, got thrown out, stealing second base. It just doesn't seem to exist. He became a myth, bigger than life. So if I saw him play today and he could go fucking 5 for 5 in the game, I still would probably say I expected more. I thought he was going to be much better. That's what's happened. We've done away with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When they first started, when you have your opening class becomes Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis and Roy Orbison and that. And then you've got, before you know it, it's the Beach Boys, Beatles, and Stones fucking going in the same. It gets ridiculous of how big it felt at first. And now eventually, as soon as you start to let in more and more, now it's got down to, hey, the dude sold a lot of rock records. And there's a lot of, I knew girls in high school that liked them. Jeremy in Oklahoma.
You guys sound like $1 million.
Yeah.
Hey, I kind of had that, what you were just talking about, that question is there somebody who went in that's kind of a consensus that everybody can think back to and go, that was where it turned to like kind of being a joke, or everybody's like, they don't deserve to be in. and that's kind of where it has gotten into this thing? Or, to me, do you know who that is?
Well, I think that once you really let in the two that they were keeping out hard, it changed people's perspective pretty quickly.
Because they came up every single year before they got let in.
Yeah.
And the fans were always just like pissed off, like, "What? This is bullshit. Why is it Kiss and Rush?"
I think what kind of hurt a little bit is the Madonna year. That once Madonna went in, it became about pop icons.
Yeah.
And then when Run DMC went in, it really pissed off a lot of white people. It's
supposed to be rock.
It's supposed to be rock. Where's the rock in this shit? Yes. So those two might have hurt. But by the way, the Rush year and Rush going in was probably the funnest Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But the fact that people stop complaining every year has hurt the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was good fun.
Right, because it kept it in the conversation.
Kiss and Rush getting in, it let a lot of the fun out of it.
You're taking away the fire.
Yeah. Here is our buddy Andy in Cleveland. Hey, Andy.
I think the reason the Smiths shouldn't get in is basically summed up with this. So please, 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 let me write a new tune that does not sound just like this one. For once in my life, let me write a new song. Lord knows it would be the first time.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Well, he's a hell of a singer and / actor. Here's Matt in D.C.
Washington.
Yeah.
I just feel like I should call up and defend the Smiths. They were not my favorite band, but first of all, I don't think Morrissey would show up if you inducted them. But I do think that as a guitar player, Johnny Marr had a recognizable sound, kind of like the Edge. If you hear it, you know it's him playing, and I do think that they were influential. Honestly, I think all of these bands should get in with it being expanded. I don't know why Yes and Chicago aren't already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And frankly, at this point, Nine Inch Nails is probably the strongest candidate from an impact standpoint, but I would let all of those. You can make an argument for all of those bands. Bernard Edwards is one of the best bass players in the business when he was alive. You can make an argument for every one of those bands.
Yeah, and now we're at a point where once you make the argument has to go through. You know what I mean? Because there's been enough let through. And, as far as going back to Andy's joke about, he wrote the same song over and over, Brian Wilson?
Yeah,
Chuck Berry.
A lot of people write the same songs over and over, and it's usually because it's a good song, and everyone liked that song.
Look, Bo Diddley is in for the Bo Diddley beat, and he didn't even invent the Bo Diddley beat. They have people in New Orleans that had that beat long before him. So what are you going to fucking do? You know what I mean? Like, you're looking, it's almost like when you go to a museum and you think to yourself, why this painting and not another painting? Because someone has to be the curator. You know what I mean?
Right.
Someone has to say, I feel this to be important. If it's everybody deciding whether it's important, then everything should fucking go in. Now that we have the fans voting, and it's more about making, hey, what's the best TV show we can have?
Yeah.
And that's what this has come down to.
What's the concert going to be?
Do you want to have a fucking TV show where you don't get to see Bruce Springsteen induct these people? You know what I mean? That's what they're thinking. And let's face it, who's going to induct Yes? Is there someone that matters to anyone today that's going to go up there and talk about why the people who wrote Tales of Topographic Oceans
That's a pretty cool
should
name.
go in there?
I guess a fancy writer could come in and do it.
I could go out and make it because I tripped to that album one time, and what I saw when I closed my eyes to this day, I can't fucking explain it. I wish I could.
That sounds perfect.
I'm
actually.
probably the only living person. And I could probably take Bob Hanghold in there with me, even though he might not want his family to know now that he did acid. I'll drop that. Just take that out of the best stuff.
Done.
Jim in Iowa. Jim.
Hey again. About the criteria for getting in, I think maybe we're looking at it the wrong way, and that we're looking at the artist in general and asking should they be there, when maybe the thing to do is look at like categories of this era and ask what's the most representative band of that era.
Yeah, I see. That's the problem. Should it be the fact that because in 1976 the Frampton Comes Alive album was a realtor would give it out with every home that was sold in the suburbs. Oh, when you get this Frampton Comes Alive album for your kid, it was a massive selling album and certainly represented that summer. But so what? Does music not mean more to the initial rock critics, who a lot of people would find to be, somewhat nerdy, geeky? It did. And that's who makes a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not the fans. The fans really are represented by fucking downloads, period. What's wrong with that? Just because you love something doesn't make it a great fucking work of art, or we'd have pictures of fucking kittens in MoMA tomorrow. And we would.
Yeah, it'd be a meme fucking gallery.
There'd be a section of MoMA that would just be this brook running through a wood area because every mom put that over her couch. Doesn't necessarily make it a great work of art. Someone has to say, we are the people who decide. And then the rest of us fight with them. That's who our fight should be. Now our fight is just let everyone in because you guys fucking lost balls. Holly in Seattle. Holly.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
Very good. I'm sure that I'm not going to speak for everybody, and I'm sure that probably a lot of people would say that I'm crazy. But I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I was a teenager in the 80s, and I was a metal chick. And I think that in Pittsburgh, there was maybe 2 new wave clubs as opposed to countless metal clubs that you could go to any night of the week and listen to Metallica, as like bands,
cover bands,
right? Or dance clubs that would play the Smiths and Morrissey. Like I could think of one club, and it was on the University of Pittsburgh campus. Of course. And we would make fun of these people. We hated them. We were totally anti-Smiths, anti-Morrissey. And so, to me, growing up listening to only metal, Metallica, Slayer, things of that nature. And I, of course, when I was younger, I grew up on what is now classic rock. Of course, all the older bands from the 60s and 70s. To me, the Smiths are not rock and roll to me because I came from a blue-collar town. Now, anybody outside of my little hemisphere bubble that I grew up in, I'm sure that they would probably have a different point of view. But to me, that doesn't seem rock and roll, and I don't agree with the kind of bands that they're putting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Then I have a show for you. It's called That Metal Show, and I think you are going to love it.
I do love it, and I have many people that I grew up with that we do love that show.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But if you're going to say they're not rock and roll enough, I mean, when there's someone like Madonna in there, you can certainly say that the Smiths are more closely tied to rock and roll, being post-punk.
That's a very true point. And I would also make the case that if it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, metal bastardized what rock and roll was as well.
Right.
I mean, they took one small element of it, and that's all they cared about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would always have trouble putting most of the 80s metal into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, I would put Motley Crue in, and then I start to get lost on it after that.
I think that when I think of rock and roll, I think of guitars and drums and things like that, and I think of it more of a progression of when you start with the 50s through the 60s through the 70s, and then you get into all that electronic kind of music, and and I don't particularly agree that Madonna should have been put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I don't really agree that that's rock and roll. That's
But
dance
I
music.
think that if you took any 50s rock and roll musicians and even 60s and then said, this is where it's going, and showed them the LA fucking metal scene in the 80s, they didn't relate whatsoever. I mean, you related, early 70 rockers on.
Right.
For that,
And they probably would have more a connection with music that was melodic anyway. So
Right.
a lot of the music that came from rock that had poppier sounds or electronic sounds, a lot of it was more melodic. So they probably would have connected to that more so.
All right. Thank you, Holly.
Okay.
Talk to you later, buddy. Well, here's somebody who can't settle this for everyone. It's our own Hard Rock Johnny.
So, as I'm just reading along here, some amazingly ranting tweets by a person whose TV show you just mentioned. I was waiting for the Eddie Trunk live tweets to start about this, and here they are.
All right, what's Eddie have to say?
All right, let's see. We'll start with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just realized Deep Purple and Cheap Trick exist. Pathetic. And Yes Official has a key member die, so now they get recognized? Lost. Then there's, by the way, before anyone gets excited, Purple has been on the ballot before and passed over. Maybe ignore them another 30 years? Clueless. Imagine something called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just now is considering the Cars, Steve Miller, Purple, Yes, and Cheap Trick. I couldn't make it up. Then the next thing is, my new podcast is up. so the auto tweet is there.
See, here's the thing. Even putting these guys in isn't going to make Eddie happy now.
Hell no.
It's too late for him. It's better the way it was before.
See, I think the biggest problem is that it should just really be the Music Hall of Fame. I understand that it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's just music. That's where, like the girl Holly who just said, doesn't consider something rock and roll. Well, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not necessarily rock and roll. It's music. It's for every form of music. There's classical musicians that are in there, so that's where I think.
They've even put in a lot of blues and jazz guys because they say these people have influenced rock and roll.
Yeah, of course.
Their work in the late 40s.
I will say I'm a little surprised that Steve Miller isn't in there already. That's the one that shocks me.
I will tell you why.
I'm not offended.
And this is critics tend to be people who write, right? So the word is incredibly important to them. Every sentence that they write, they go over to make sure that it passes the muster. Then you're going to say, I'm going to put on a song, the guy's singing abracadabra, I want to reach out and grab you. Everyone who has silly or light lyrics gets the shit kicked out of them by critics, and probably rightfully so.
Yeah.
Steve Miller wrote some of the fucking shittiest lyrics of all time. No one can fight that, even his biggest fans. Those are wacky, silly lyrics. The song's incredibly singable. And forget all that. Like John Mayer, he put out songs in one way, but then he could turn around. He was a fucking phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah.
A lot of people bust John Mayer's balls, but he could sit down and play with anyone. Anyone who's that fucking Clapton. He's playing with the Dead. He doesn't give a shit who he plays with. He kicks ass. But then, people hear that Daughter song and they're like, fuck this guy.
Pussy.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about that 2 days ago, that John Mayer is possibly the best American-born guitarist out there right now. He's amazing. He can shred with anybody.
Yeah, and that's been said for a lot of years, but then people judge him by what pop stars he's put his dick into. You know what I mean? He takes fucking shit for that.
but my wife and I were out, and we were in like this little thrift store, and they were playing John Mayer, and the girl was like behind the counter. Someone said, "Who is this?" And she goes, "No, listen, don't judge it. It's John Mayer." And like, it's an it wasn't daughter. It was just some of his, like, it was a live thing, and it sounded amazing. But you have to, like, now, unfortunately for him, you have to.
You got to make a fucking point. Like, I know he banged Jessica Simpson.
Right, you have to
and
preface it.
I'm going to guess Kelly Pickler. I don't know who the other one is.
Sure.
I don't know everybody's name.
You tore it up.
Now, off the internet, I just texted Eddie that I was reading your Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tweets live on Bending, and all I got back from it was disgusting with an exclamation point.
That's hilarious. God bless him for his anger, though. We need that.
Listen.
We need that anger.
I know.
Who's the one band that you would put in out of this list, though? You can only put in one.
I'm going to put in Deep Purple.
Gail?
Smiths.
Quiet.
Joey?
Cars.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the Cars.
Good call.
Damn it.
And no one picked, by the way, Nine Inch Nails, who we all said were first ballot, but they didn't make your first ballots.
No.
Who would you put in, Johnny?
Despite his lyrics, I'm going to go with Steve Miller.
And see, I would have put Cheap Trick in first.
Mm-hmm.
So even we, like-minded people who look at this list, all think somebody is the most valuable person on that list.
And that tells me everybody gets in.
Everybody goes in. Everybody gets a trophy.
Even the Smiths.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter to people the way it used to. So it's not worth fighting over. That's why I at least give all the credit in the world to Trunk. He would literally die over this.
Why isn't he in charge?
He would take. I've told him many times, start your own metal and hard rock Hall of Fame. It's
brilliant.
He goes, I can't build a building. I said, who says it has to be a building? Even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't have a building the first year.
Yeah, it's a place in your mind.
Have a
in your
web
heart.
presence.
Does MTV have an MTV Hall of Fame?
I don't think so.
No. I have a famous pants Hall of Fame.
Well, you do. You have the popular version of this. And by the way, it is curated by the people at the Hard Rock. They don't ask the fans, do you want this in? They go, we find this to be a valued fucking thing. And they put it up there and it represents them. And that's fine with everybody. You can't bitch about it.
Yeah.
We get people who come in and bitch that we don't have something that they'd like to see, but no one's ever said, why do you have Bo Diddley's guitar on your wall? Or, no one's ever said that, or they said those.
But I've never walked into a museum and thought to myself, I would put this Warhol up and not the other ones,
Yeah.
That's the job of a curator. Matter of fact, I never get the Whitney out of all the museums in town.
Yeah.
And they went and built that big, beautiful one down on the High Line. And I could give two shits because it's the fucking Whitney to me. And I'm always like this. Well, fuck the Whitney. That's what I say.
He does say that.
No one listens. No one cares. And I'll walk by it sometimes and I go, this fucking place.
Shitbox.
Let me guess. You got another fucking hopper up there? As if we haven't seen enough of that in New York?
He'll tell that to tourists going in.
I get it. It's a visual version of a Tom Waits record. I get it. All right, Johnny, talk to you later, buddy.
Later, kids.
Peace. Tony, Delaware. Tony.
Yo. Hashtag no to yes. They suck.
All right, so there's Tony. What's your big beef with Yes?
Dude, how many times does Yes come on the radio and everybody changes to a different channel?
I don't hang around with your friends, Tony, so I'm sure over the years I've known the massive amount of concerts as these guys done and the number of records. It's impossible for me to agree with you that everyone hates them. You're the guy who hates them, Tony, and why?
No, I agree. I might know one person that likes Yes. It's because he looks like one of the people there, and that's it.
It's pretty good band.
No, I will point this out to people, though. Yes. Is
revolutionary.
And they're people like them and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Jethro Tull. Those type of bands are the reason that we have punk rock today. That people started bands because they could not possibly sound like Pink Floyd. You know what I mean? That you would say, no, that what those guys are doing is impossible for me to do. So I'll start a garage band with my friends. So you want to talk about influential. That's an incredibly influential thing to make music go in a completely different way.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that the people who went on to be in Styx and Journey like this kind of music.
Oh,
Kansas, all those kind of bands.
You can feel that connection.
Agree with that, right? But from who today would say, "Oh yeah, Yes was one of my greatest influences." So moving on from that.
No, well, hold on. You're not going to find anybody today who would say that Chuck Berry or Elvis Presley influenced them today. No one.
You were just talking about John Mayer. Now he can shred with everybody, which is 100% true. I've seen John Mayer live. The only reason he writes those songs is to make panties moist. What he does.
But see, that would be a thing to actually say you're not being true to your music. That would be more of a criticism, you know what I mean, than anything else. When they used to use the term sellout, what Eric Clapton did with his pop music career or with John Mayer is not present, or you can buy them at their word and say that they like all those music, which is probably true of most musicians. But they certainly didn't have the same love of the blues, let's say, than a lot of their fans did. It wouldn't work out that way.
And this is why you can't give the fans power in the voting thing. It gets all fucked up.
It's, it's just one way. I mean, obviously you can do it because they did do it, but it changes the criteria. All these bands now have to basically go in. Here's a gentleman who knows a little bit more about hard rock and metal than anyone else I know. Mr. Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk.
Ronnie.
How are you, my friend?
It's always a special day when this sort of information comes out.
It's fun.
My emails and my Twitter and my phone blows up because people want this reaction from me, and I deliver every time. I don't want to disappoint.
That's good. What makes you furious today, Eddie?
Well, let me just say something. I just tuned in a few minutes ago. Johnny Hardrock hit me with the bat phone and told me that, you know, what was going on. And a couple things I need to clear up here that I think are important. First of all, this fan vote stuff is total bullshit. It doesn't move the needle and cannot and will not move the needle to get anybody in or even nominated. It is such a small, tiny percentage. They only put that in so they could take a little heat off themselves and say, look, we're letting the fans vote. Why some of these bands, after being ignored for decades, are finally showing up is a couple reasons. One is because they finally have bands in there. The number one criteria for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction is influence. Look at how backwards this is. These bands that we're talking about, Cheap Trick, Deep Purple, they influenced bands that the Hall put before them. And when you put Metallica in, then Metallica gets votes. Lars Ulrich will be the first to tell you Metallica wouldn't exist without Deep Purple. So that's what ends up happening. So you have these guys all screaming for the bands that influence them. You've had guys go up on stage during inductions and say, I don't know why I'm here before whoever influenced them. So there's that, and there's also an economic component. They need to finally start putting bands in that have sold millions of records that people have heard of because they need the turnstile to turn in Cleveland at that museum to get bodies in there.
Well, I think it's even more than about going to the museum in Cleveland, which, by the way, is no different than going to Johnny's place, except for you can't get a decent cheeseburger. It's the same shit. You're just saying old posters and clothes and fucking guitars. It's not that impressive. But I think the TV show, the HBO TV show, is what's important to people.
Listen, I don't make this up. A few years ago, I had the president of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in my studio at Sirius XM for over an hour explaining this. He does not vote, by the way, but he told me that's a really important thing. This was before Kiss and Alice Cooper and all these bands who were also ignored for 30 years finally went in. And he told me, he said, listen, there's a side of this that's important to me. I've got to sell a TV show. When you put a TV show to HBO or something with a bunch of acts that are too cool for the room that most of the mainstream never heard of, it doesn't register. So there's that side of this too.
Well, who would induct Yes? Who left? You know, who is left that is big enough that would say Yes was as big as they obviously were, by the way? I mean,
again, what we're looking at here when we're talking about, and I have to be clear because people know me as this hard rock metal guy, but I am fully in agreement that Chicago and the Cars and Steve Miller should have been in ages ago. I mean, it's madness that we're talking about this now, and certainly Yes is in that category too. Probably the most influential progressive rock band that also crossed over for commercial success. And oh yeah, what a coincidence. A founding key member of Yes just died, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just got their heads out of their asses and said, oh, yeah, I guess we should take a look at them. What morons. It's just disgraceful. Same thing with Deep Purple. Deep Purple's been on the ballot before. They're ignored still. They were ignored. So none of this means any of these guys are actually getting in. I'm sure Chaka Khan's going to get in over Deep Purple because that's the way they do things over there.
So you're still, even seeing this coming up, it doesn't make you feel any better, Eddie?
No, God, no. It makes me feel worse because these guys have been ignored forever. It's so disgraceful. It's so disrespectful that even if they do finally get in, how do you say, Ronnie, how do you say Guns N' Roses, and let's be honest, Guns N' Roses, love all the guys, huge band, but it's all about one record, one amazing record, but one record. They go in first ballot, first time eligible. Red Hot Chili Peppers, first ballot, first time eligible. But Deep Purple, whether you like them or not, Smoke on the Water is to this day Guitar Riff 101 for 45 years for people, is still sitting there and the hall saying, you think? You got to give me a break. I mean, it's madness. Even if they do go in, the stench of them sitting and waiting and being ignored burns me like you can't believe. Van Halen didn't go in first time eligible.
You know, Deep Purple had an album, you know, one of those albums that changed lives called Machine Head. And I always thought if they would have called themselves Machine Head and the fucking album Deep Purple, people would have been I think it's the name Deep Purple to this day has put people off.
Because it sounds so trippy.
Yeah.
More trippy and psychedelic
But
than
if you
hard.
said, oh man, I was into Machine Head, everybody would have thought that was one of the greatest metal names of all time.
Right.
Well, Machine Head is the name of a current metal band for like the last 15 years. It's actually very popular. But I mean, the thing with Purple is that a couple things. First of all, Deep Purple have always been way, way, way huger and more impactful in Europe than in America. In America, they certainly have a half a dozen big hits and are a well-loved band. But in Europe, like that's why if you talk to any European musicians, they'll tell you Purple means more to them than Led Zeppelin. So, and Purple actually predates Led Zeppelin. So there's that. And the other thing I want to see, if they actually do get around to putting Deep Purple in, and I know for a fact Tom Morello who's a part of this whole thing. He's another reason why some of these bands are starting to pop up. He's the reason Kiss got in. He's pushing for Purple. So I know that that's going on as well. But if Purple does go in, Ronnie, think about this. Who goes in? There's literally been like 35 people in Deep Purple. Like,
I think
what guys go in?
I think a lot of times they'll say this era goes in where, like they did with Kiss. They didn't put the entire Kiss, members over the years, just the four initial guys.
Yeah, but Kiss was like a total of like 7 or 8 guys. Deep Purple, I'm not exaggerating. I have never counted them all up, but it's got to be probably close to 15 to 20 guys that have been in that band when you go back to the 60s. And the crazy thing with Purple is each one of the eras had lineups that had signature hits. Like the song Hush by Deep Purple is like still a huge classic rock hit. That wasn't even Ian Gillan. That was done in the late 60s. That was a different lineup. So you've got there's only one guy in Deep Purple that's been there for every single lineup, and it's the drummer, Ian Pace. Outside of that, the thing's revolved a million times.
That is the kind of shit that could probably keep them out of just not knowing how to present it properly.
And here's the other thing. The one guy everybody would want to see, Richie Blackmore, has already said as a preemptive strike a couple years ago when Purple came up the first time, forget it because I won't attend. So, I mean, but you're getting a lot more of that now from these artists because they're so disillusioned by this, and you're getting a lot of guys saying it doesn't mean anything anymore. They
I know that you say that, but remember when Rush went in, how fucking moved everybody was, their fans, and they were caught up in it. When fucking Kiss went in, I really wanted them to go up and and just fucking Johnny Rotten it and fucking throw thing, and they were moved and read speeches. So I think when people
I was
get
there for Kiss.
Yeah.
I sat at the table with Kiss. I don't know about that.
I know on stage, go back and watch the way it was presented on TV, and it did not give anything more than we love each other and we're all glad to be here.
Well, that was a great production piece.
Yeah, I wanted it to blow up. I was dying for it to blow up to make great TV. All right, John, Eddie, it's so good to talk to you. When's the next season of that metal show?
I don't know. We're just waiting to find out from the network, and hopefully it doesn't look like it's going to be before next year, but there's plenty of repeats. The one thing I just heard that's kind of interesting is that they're going to put all the episodes for the first time ever on YouTube, which they've always been blocked on YouTube. And that's actually pretty big news for people who don't get the channel or people outside of America who always wanted to see it, and it was blocked because of their IP address. So I heard they're working on that, but all that stuff's out of my control. When they say it's time to do shows, we'll go do them.
All right, talk to you later, my friend.
Hey, good talking to you guys. Take care.
Peace. Eddie Trunk still fighting the good fight, even if no one else is fighting with him. Matt.
Yeah, Eddie made a point about the future of the Hall of Fame and what are you going to do? You got to put in people that just sell out of records. But the kids these days, they just download one song at a time. How are you going to determine who actually had a good compilation of
Well, remember, that's the way it started up until the mid-'60s and really late 60s before that became the album itself. You're looking, if you're being honest about it, probably 64 to maybe 2000 tops. You know what I mean?
Where that's the value.
Well, that's the value. But a lot of the bands that we're talking about of all time only sold singles.
Yeah.
Of all
time. Yeah, but the way that rock and roll is in such a slump right now, maybe they're just going to be able to catch up on the whole backlog.
Dude, when something's dead, you don't call it a slump. You know what I mean?
But you can't say
no
it's
longer.
Dead.
It's no longer a viable art form.
You got Foo Fighters. I wouldn't say it's dead. It's definitely
Foo Fighters are like a 25-year-old band at this point, or 20-year-old band at least.
What was that, 96?
Yeah, so it's 19 years.
They're ready to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, probably.
Yeah.
The Foo Fighters, which we, give credit as somebody who's keeping rock alive.
Yeah.
But, you can't say, oh, jazz isn't dead, and then bring up Wynton Marsalis. Like, oh, what about him?
See?
You know what I mean?
You look stupid now.
Jazz was the art form in this country for years and years and years.
Yeah, rock's done. I guess it's really pop music, and like hip hop's even become pop music now. Like the biggest hip hop stars are all pop stars.
It's all producer based.
We even bring up Jack White as one of those guys who's keeping up, but he was making music 15 years ago too.
Yeah.
It's not like these are breaking.
No, we're not acting like there's some young kid doing it right. And I would, obviously it's easier to blame young fans, but it's not like older fans are out there looking for fucking records and grabbing records by people.
And are people probably making that kind of music? Yeah, that's not debatable, but what it's definite is that it's not at the forefront of what people want.
I know one thing, if you go on that Periscope on a Saturday night, you will hear dance music in the background of everybody's like an apartment. They're putting on music. There's background dance music all the time.
Yeah.
But they're not listening to what we, what we consider to be rock music.
I'd be surprised if I heard rock blasting. Like, oh, okay, this is weird. This is different.
And yet you run into people in their early 20s and they're very literate when it comes to rock music. Like I my interns tend to know who the Doors are, who the Beach Boys are, who fucking, Led Zeppelin is, know them very well, who U2 is. I mean, they could go through decades, but for themselves, do they sit around and listen to it? I don't know. We were waiting for that Joey Jojo from his, periscoping from his house the other night, and it never happened.
It's going to happen.
We were dying to see your house party and what goes on there.
I want to see it.
Tomorrow night, having a house party.
I just want to see when you guys get herbed up and sit and don't even talk to each other and watch TV.
Love smartphones.
They love it. This kid, when he gets high, puts on the Big Bang Theory, forget about him.
So funny.
Yeah, he's having the time of his life. I will tell you how much kids love music. I saw, and Joey sent it in, the greatest video I've ever seen in my life, and that's these Mighty Might football players, and they were playing music while the kids play, and they were playing that Nene song, right?
Whip and Nene.
Yeah, the kids forget the game itself. They're dancing during the game. Look, he's just turned to his parents and is dancing instead of lining up. Look, both teams. It's not any one team. There's a kid dancing instead of blocking.
He's still going. Everybody else has picked up on it. There's one kid still nay-naying.
They do not give a shit about the game. Look.
They're still going.
Yeah.
They're still bopping.
Both sides. So kids do. Here's little kids. And they love their music more than sport.
This kid.
It's amazing.
He's getting down on the ground. He's dancing so hard.
They won't stop. They won't
doing a
stop
stanky
dancing.
leg.
Hey, you're in the secondary, kid. Come on.
This is like the Pied Piper right
It's
now.
fucking amazing. Look at that
He's still
kid.
going. They love this song so much. These helmets can't be the right size for them, by the way.
well-
They were like wearing these giant stormtrooper
Yeah.
helmets on their tiny bodies.
Look at those kids. They love this shit.
The halfback's really losing it.
At any point, 60 to 70% of the kids are dancing more than playing sports.
Look at this kid going on the right.
The amount of offsides I would be calling during this game.
They're so excited when the play ends because they could go back to doing it full time.
It's up on the iBang. What's the name of it?
Youth football team forgets how to football, but remembers to dance.
That's your long, crazy title?
This is my long, crazy title, yeah.
Do you think people just say, we're going to football later?
I like to say it.
It is the funniest fucking video that maybe I've seen in my life. It's so adorable. Here's Scott in Vancouver. Scott.
Yeah, the downfall of rock, I really believe it can be attributed to this shit like American Idol and X Factor and all that crap, and the Simon Cowells of the world putting together these testosterone little girl attracting bands. It's sad. It's a cycle. I hope it goes away.
First of all, the cycle that you're talking about, as far as putting, attractive boys out there dancing, has been around since the beginning of rock and roll.
It's been around since, certainly when I was a little kid, everybody said that about New Kids and,
yeah,
there's
but,
no rock.
remember after fucking Elvis was Fabian and all the, that was done as soon as the corporation. But my thing, Kurt, to say is America was not forced to watch American Idol, and they're not forced to watch The Voice. Fucking cool is not something that a majority of people are. They don't give a shit. They have the taste of soccer moms. And they're fine with that.
And if that's all that takes for you to abandon good music, you probably never were a fan of that kind of music anyway.
I don't know. I know a lot of fucking friends who watched American Idol that, got caught up in the fun of trying to catch the next thing. I mean, when you would see those people being yelled at, it was for not following the judges, which seems the exact opposite of rock and roll. Like, you wouldn't want to hear Mick Jagger followed what all the judges said.
Right.
So that's why he's become a good rock star.
You seem to be moving around the stage a little too much. Try centering yourself. Really focus on your voice.
Right, extra Mick? Where do I stand? You don't stand, Charlie. You have to sit and play the drums. Right, drums. Yeah, it's the exact opposite of it. It was like being a good corporate person. That's what that fucking show was about.
And build a spokesperson for whatever, for like it's for their career,
for money. That's the fucking. But that was the point of it. It all fucking went. Here is Brian, Baton Rouge.
How you guys doing, man?
Hey.
You know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I came up on the hip-hop side with a little bit of rock when hip-hop and rock was cool together.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys are going through the same thing we're going through. My generation hate hip-hop now. We hate everything about it. And, you know, and I talk to friends of mine that are rockers that played in bands, and they feel the same way with rock right now. It's just this new generation, man, they just killing it. And it's just going down south. Like I say, rock and rap had a great relationship, whether they was combined or not. But now we let too much R&B come in, and God forbid, it just sucks. So, and like I say, rock, you guys might know way more than I know, but I don't think neither one is doing anything these days that's worth even talking about.
Well, you would have grown up in what I would think most people would say was a golden age of hip hop.
Yeah.
And that was about people trying to express themselves for more than just selling records and perfume. I mean, if you look at any of the bands that came out there, the record companies couldn't even keep up with them. The record companies weren't ready for Public Enemy, NWA. They weren't ready for Q-Tip. They didn't even fucking understand.
Tribe Called Quest.
They had no idea what was going on there. Once they caught up, they controlled it. When they actually took that fucking rock and rap connection over, it turned shitty fast on both sides of that.
Yep, you're right. You are totally right.
Yeah.
And it is weird. I think about that all the time, how hip hop and now R&B is just like one genre. It's one poppy genre. There's a lot more focus on R&B, which that's its own problem, that R&B
is not R&B in the first place.
Yeah, what R&B actually was once.
Yeah. Rhythm and blues.
Pretty much the best music you could think of. Pretty much.
And then it became synonymous for shitty corporate fucking soul.
And then they took that and now it's completely injected into hip hop, and hip hop is totally diluted now because of it.
So here's the problem that they've always had with record companies. You can take art and exploit it, but the fact is that you're going like, how do we make art that we can exploit is when it turns shitty overnight. Overnight.
Yeah.
The second you go, how do we make our own Beatles? How do we make our own Elvis? How do we make our own James Brown? So we have a James Brown that we can control. It ain't fucking James Brown anymore. Brian, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, bro.
Peace. Steve in Alabama. Steve.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, seems like there's some really good rock music nowadays, but it's like indie. Nobody really knows about it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm sure it is. People send me records all the time, but
File and Courtney Barnett. I think at certain periods, maybe if they came up earlier, in the 70s or something like that, they could be big stars. But it's quality, badass music.
I have no doubt that you're right. I have no doubt that there's some fucking garage band that would blow us all away.
Totally.
But how are you supposed to find it?
They're totally out there, but it's just not the forefront, and it's not what most people want to listen to. I think it's not the majority.
Well, the thing is, it has to play to the masses before people can agree on it. You know what I mean? It has to be put out. And the fact that we have more choices means that we have more chances of missing something. That when the fucking Animals went on Ed Sullivan, the people in America actually made a choice that night. You know what I mean? Like when the Supremes went on that show, people could say immediately, I like this or I don't like this. And it was up to Motown to get the Supremes ready to do that show when they're prepared so America could make that kind of choice.
Yeah.
But, well, you even saw Miley Cyrus the other night had to fucking, come out dressed crazy just to get people to notice her.
And start crying.
The little music that she was singing, those songs could have been fine in any fucking decade.
Yeah.
But that's already missed because people were paying. I went to Twitter immediately to say, I wonder what people are saying about this song, and just watched everyone attacking her visual look.
Right.
No one was paying attention to the music.
Which was great, by the way. I mean, first of all, she's doing this record with the Flaming Lips. You know,
Right.
she's got the Flaming Lips as her.
And that Karen song, I think, was done by them first.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's-
you can hear their stuff in it. In fact, I thought I was actually like, this kind of sounds like a Flaming Lips song before I even knew it was them. I realized, oh shit.
I
that's
actually
crazy.
said, "Have I heard this song before?" It
was driving me nuts.
And I was sitting, I'm like, "This is an interesting song." It didn't even grab me immediately, like being a great song.
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is an interesting song." So I'm like, "I wonder how this is playing with Twitter." And everybody was just driven by the visuals.
Like,
Nobody was
her
paying attention
hair.
to the song at all.
Just
I
sort of-
felt the same way about the second song.
Yeah.
Nice, solid pop song, but people
Yeah.
aren't paying attention to it. Bill, Jersey.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Ronnie B. The
Yeah.
downfall. I mean, listen, I'm a child of the '80s. It's got to be when corporate America started taking over, and now you got fucking CBGBs as a coffee shop and all this crap, and then you got these new music venues popping up. And it's like, oh, we're reinventing the Fillmore in Philadelphia with some shitty VW Beetle van in there. It's all fake shit. It's a studio prop. All the good shit's gone. All the places like City Gardens and Trenton where you can go and you can see bands play live and it's dirty and grimy. They're gone. It's all cleaned and polished and it's corporate and it's got sponsored by Visa and American Express and it sucks.
There is no other criteria to measure anything in America other than money, though. We've agreed to that somehow.
Yeah.
We've agreed that if you say anything other than money, you're a socialist or a fucking tree hugger or whatever.
But I also think that these are the same people who were probably fans of that music when they were young, destroying it. Like, you can't deny that corporate America is of a certain generation, and that was a generation that would have been hip to something then, and then they're like, this is my new way of being, and this is how I show my appreciation.
Well, because you are, just like we're sitting here talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this does belong in a museum now. It is not of this time.
Yeah.
And remember what it was like when your parents took you to a museum. You felt like, what the fuck am I doing here? This has nothing to do with me.
Sucks.
The GPS is on demand now.
Nice. Glad to hear it.
So that's the show that we did the other day about the rock music that came out of Detroit and is playing on Deep Tracks up on demand. Now, do you know exactly how you find it on demand, Chris?
I think you go to the Deep Track section of On Demand. You search Deep Tracks, and then it'll be listening to the On Demand.
Well, why don't we have that up somewhere people can do it? Even if you search Bennington, it'll come up, and you'll be fine with it. But, the fact of the matter is, I don't think this music matters to anybody. And I will tell you now, if you saw even hair metal in a club that supported hair metal in the 80s, you would not think it as cheesy as you do now. You know what I mean? It was much closer to feeling like you were in a punk club than you were in a dance club. But now, since it's been filtered through an entire generation by that shitty fucking Broadway show turned into shitty film. But when people were into hair metal, you basically cut off the rest of your life. I mean, if you were going to be in the hair metal and dress appropriately, right? Your hair did not fit in anywhere other than if you're going to work a blue collar job. You had said, I'm cutting out the rest of my life to support this kind of music.
Yeah, and it's funny because now it has this kind of, I think, bro-y or something reputation, but really it had to have been glam in some way.
It was
to be
certainly
like,
glam.
with the hair and the
look
look.
like there were dudes that looked like chicks.
Yeah,
it was fucking straight out glam. But the weird thing, as years go by, I can fucking tell you, Van Halen wasn't kidding when they came out. They didn't do that shit ironically. They were fucking seriously competing against rock gods of their youth and demanding to take a spot. People fucking forget that. It wasn't done only for the reasons that people think is done now. Here is Mike in Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, how you doing today?
Cool, man.
Hey, my comment, it's a very interesting show.
Yes.
Being a teenager, I seen a million shows in Cleveland, but, I have a comment. Queen is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And how could you not have Yes? I mean, it's the same genre.
Well, I'd actually take it in a different direction. I go, how could you put Queen there and not Roxy Music? Roxy Music is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And Queen completely went in that direction. I mean, they were more of, a version they were almost like if you took prog rock and put them together with that early English glam and then add a Broadway to it.
Yeah.
Where I always fall off, it's the Broadway aspect of it.
It was very theatrical.
Yeah. But even the singing style is straight up.
Yeah.
Broadway.
Sure. And I think if you think back to 1975 and Bohemian Rhapsody, when that song came out, I think that it's safe to say that everybody shoehorned that into the prog rock genre.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything morphs. Okay, so the 1970s, yes, certainly morphed into the Queen, the Roxy music influenced the more of the Genesis influence. Certainly I think when everybody finally got turned on to Genesis and Lamb Lies Down on Broadway,
mm-hmm.
Certainly that was pegged into the prog rock.
Well, I want to say this. Mike grew up in Cleveland, and that was a place that you immediately went to first if you're a rock band, because they were very open. The radio was more open there, and the fans were open. If you were big and loud in Cleveland, you could get over, and then you would turn around and say, "Hey, we're doing it in Cleveland," and try to get the record companies to pay attention to you. Brian in Detroit.
I think that radio has really killed rock music for the simple fact that all new rock stations will play one, maybe two songs, and they always play something from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So you're not getting exposed to new music on the radio. And you get your Spotify's, your Pandora, and XM. But here, I don't listen to the terrestrial radio anymore because you know what? I would much rather listen to talk radio because it interests me more. Music today just absolutely sucks.
Well, to blame that on radio programmers is, I started radio in the 80s, and we were not playing a lot of new artists even then. Yeah. And it was hard to break through on that playlist. And I didn't have any radio background at all. And I was being like, why don't we just fucking play records and shit? And my PD was like, we can get fired for being down a book. We will not end at a fucking song that's going to get us fired. Their purpose was never to introduce their listeners to new great music. They would add songs that did well in other markets. They were constantly looking at research. The way that they looked at listeners was only money. There was no other connection. You listen, you buy the products, you go to the concerts, you vote us as your station when you get your book, and boom. The pressure that those guys were under was always there to deliver the safest product that you fucking possibly could. And that's why when I started radio and we had shock jocks, you would play shitty mass appeal songs do some dirty phone call back into a shitty mass appeal song, which immediately gave us on the air is power, because we're not driving away your music people as we're, bringing in people who are waiting to hear, I don't know, a stripper gets paint thrown on her ass. Spinner's leaving.
Thursday's yes class at 1:30 or 2 o'clock.
You run a loose ship, my friend.
Vito is covering.
Well, let me tell you something. Vito is the fucking man, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Vito is the man.
He's
Love Vito.
The shit. In a good way.
So, to get back to it, there was one small error when FM radio wasn't making money and guys could go on and play their own record. That lasted such a short time, and yet everyone talks about it to this day, right? But the listeners weren't there for that fucking shit. They didn't support those kind of shows.
Yeah, even so, those weren't the biggest shows of the time. It's not like they were hugely popular.
They were always underground.
Yeah.
FM at that time was underground. And as soon as people went, wait, more cars are getting FM, they just brought over the shitty pop stations to FM radio. And then people took that format of playing rock music and actually formatted it down and got rid of the innovative people who were just playing records for friends.
Right.
A lot of them, by the way, the fucking people were celebrated and became rich formatting this stuff. And then they went on to do this kind of radio as well. More or less the bad guys won. And they always win. But you could also blame the fucking people for that. When someone says, I like the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
They're saying I like 10 songs normally. You know what I mean? They're
Great
not
sense.
playing fucking classic rock even to people who own those albums. They're playing classic rock to people who don't own the fucking albums.
Yeah.
Who don't listen to it.
I think that happens constantly, not just with the Eagles, but like most bands. Like if you get in a conversation with somebody who, they grew up on that music, if you try to delve in and have a conversation, you'll be shocked that they don't know much else other than what's playing on the classic rocks,
Right.
channels, which is 1 or 2 songs per, each group.
Depending on the artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they'll say I like Aerosmith, but they mean from a certain time that they were in high school, not Aerosmith itself. So you cannot act like the audience has nothing to fucking do with us. The audience is fucking as responsible as anyone, because these corporations will move and play shit and make money off the audience. They will 100% of the time. And that's just fact. That's just a fucking fact. Period. If they suddenly found out there was a certain music, if cello music started to have people show up and buy cello, the radio station would just flip from hip hop to cello without a fucking thought in the world, without a care in the world. And then they would be able to go to their board of directors and say, here's the research of why we can do that. It isn't about, I've got a hunch. I feel something. I'm passionate about this. Here's John in New York. John.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Great show. Thanks for doing it.
It's our job.
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going? A long time ago I saw a documentary with Tom Petty, and he said the most telling thing about music I've ever heard. He said it's a lot like wrestling. People know it's fake, but they really just don't give a shit. And that's really what it's up to now.
It's a fucking great line. Seriously, a great fucking line. Tom Petty, there's a new book out about his life, and this is shocking. Tom Petty has admitted that he was a heroin junkie during the 1990s. Now, this is the amazing thing. Tom Petty is so fucking laid back that no one even noticed that he was on heroin. None of us. No one even said to themselves, did that dude start fucking doing heroin? No.
He always had show vibes.
I won't back down. I won't back down.
Is he singing slightly slower than usual?
Slightly,
Just
but
barely, though.
It's been sunny lately. It's been a hot day.
What was the nods?
I cannot wait to read this book. Apparently, this is an unauthorized biography that he contributed to, that he did the interviews with. One of the guys from the Del Fuegos wrote it, and I said, "Get this for me immediately. I want to fucking read this."
It's coming.
You gotta love Tom Petty. He never makes anybody's top 5 list or whatever, but the most consistent of all time, period. Had hits in just about every fucking decade.
That's true, yeah.
Has never done a tour that people don't show up for. You never see a thing of like, oh, Tom Petty better add 2 bands to, you know what I mean? To this fucking tour. Let's go to April, who wants to talk to us. April, in Chicago.
Guys,
Hey, darling.
I don't mean to be rude, but I think if you guys are saying there's a downfall of rock, it's because you're not looking.
I've heard this
You're
for
lazy.
years,
You're
April.
not out finding the scene.
But April, this is exactly what we're saying, that these bands are out there. They exist. I know that there are great bands out there. It's just not at the forefront. That's what we're saying. Is there always going to be underground bands who are doing something cool? Yes. But the difference is it's not what the majority wants.
I got news for you, too. There has always been underground Dixieland jazz bands. There are great Dixieland jazz players that if you happen to come across them, you're like, oh, this fucking guy's amazing. But because it's not being presented to the public at home, they're not taking that.
Right. And it's not about...
I think that anything that was ever cool, by the time it got to mainstream radio, by the time you read about it in Rolling Stone, it wasn't cool anymore.
Well, you're living on an edge of hipness, April, that we can only dream of.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when I will agree. I don't get out and get into the scene enough. But when I was in my 20s, man, I was out at rock clubs 5 nights a week.
Yeah, we're just a group of kids in our 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know why we can't get out and find the stuff.
But even at that, I disagree with the fact that the Beatles didn't fucking grow, that the Stones didn't grow, that the Who didn't grow. It isn't just about finding shit that no one likes. We can all fucking do that.
It's easy.
It's also, by the way, not about finding the most gifted guitar player of the time. Yeah. It's about fucking playing a guitar riff that reaches out there and grabs a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
You know? And pop music is the only place, you know, Uptown Funk is the fucking thing. What's that kid's name, that British producer's name?
Mark Ronson.
Yeah. He's like the only guy who can write those riffs now, but he's doing it from like a fucking producing point of view rather than being a band. But you can't say that song didn't run out and grab people.
Huge.
It did across generational lines. And what was it? At best, James Brown light. That's how come, you know, you think to yourself somebody would still react to James Brown today. Because that song, if you would have taken it and really done it, you know, as a Stax record or fucking, you know, given it to fucking James Brown, Stevie Wonder could have done that song. That means that people still fucking would lean into that to this day.
And the producer actually said, I was going for that sound. He was like, this is what we were trying to do with this song, Uptown Funk.
Well, he did it, man. He pulled it off. He fucking did it. He made a song for the ages. I didn't understand the little Hawaiian boy running around, but that acted like Michael Jackson. But that's me. I'm gonna find fault in something.
That's it.
I'm like April. I got my fucking nose to the grindstone.
I know.
I'm fucking into a band right now that hasn't even formed. I'm into a band.
That's cool.
These kids haven't even met each other yet.
Wow.
It's amazing.
They got an EP coming out or something? Or
no. They don't even know each other, but the fucking sound is there. It's fucking popping somehow. You know, they've got it. Glenn, Pittsburgh. Glenn.
Hey, buddies. first off, I was on hold when you brought up the Tom Petty thing. Thinking back to the album Wild Flowers, that's totally a heroin album. That makes total sense.
Okay, this is a really good fucking thing. You're going into the big ass the pretty good prize closet already for that. Woo! Because he was trying to tell us.
Okay.
Wildflowers.
Message.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I went to Lollapalooza in '94, and that was in a field. I'm actually from Philadelphia. I moved out here, but it was in a field outside of Vet Stadium. So it was like parked the vet, but walked over to a soccer field, and they told you not to bring anything. You couldn't get anything in. People were carrying cases of beer in, selling them inside. It was like mayhem.
It was tribal.
It was awesome. And then '95, I went, and it was at the Tweeter Center, or whatever they called it then, in Camden, and it was completely sponsored, and you couldn't do anything. And there was security. It was a completely different vibe. And what was it? 2 years later, they had to shut the tour down. So
now,
people do have an effect because people stopped going.
Well, the first one, is that the one that Ice-T was on the...
Yeah, that was like 92 or 91?
Yeah.
I think it was 92.
When that one first started and people were going, wait, are white kids going to put up with seeing Ice-T? And it all fucking worked out and everybody was digging it. There were, I'm going to give them more than the 1 year, but they had definitely grasped. But of course, these things, like we're running down corporate, it does take fucking money to put these things on. It really does. All right, what's he win out of the pretty good prize closet?
He wins. Gone to Texas. The CD signed by Mike Zito.
Lovely, Mike Zito.
Mike Zito's the best.
Our buddy, blues player extraordinaire. Here is, man, we didn't break it all yet, right?
No.
I got full phones I got to break, dude.
I know.
I need a producer. Joey, you're going to have to be the guy who keeps an eye on the clock. Chris is off the fucking rails these days.
I'm on it.
Chris is like freeform Chris Stanley. He doesn't give a shit about anything.
I do care.
I get a new nickname for you. It is going to be Uptown Funk. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
You wear a suit like that little fucking Hawaiian boy.
I felt like Bruno Mars that day.
Bruno Mars? That can't be a real name.
Yeah, it is. I like him because he's a smoker. That's really it. I don't know any of his other
Is he?
songs.
Is that why he's so short?
Yeah,
His parents were right.
Yeah. He chain smokes.
There sounds like you've got a tunnel with trucks driving behind you, Chris.
What is that?
It's a sound effects thing next door. They, cut spots and shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. It's happened with explosions, and we thought 9/11 was going on in here. It's happening.
No! We prepared for this.
No one will believe us now because that fucking guy from the league lied.
Yeah.
So none of us will believe that we're in the next 9/11.
Bullshit. Ruin it for everybody.
We will break back. Bennington Show.
You're listening to Bennington on Raw Dog 99, Sirius XM's Comedy Club.
You know what? If you've ever spent the night on really luxurious bedding, you know how amazing you feel the next day. Now, of course, if you don't have it, it's because of department stores and their 800% markups. You got to pay a fortune just to own it. Not if you buy your sheets from Bowl and Branch. Let me tell you something. This is where I get my sheets from. I get them delivered in my house. I get an incredible deal on it. Finest organic cotton in the world. I couldn't begin to tell you how soft they are. I'll tell you this, though. Recently, I went out to a hotel, 5-star hotel. It was luxurious. I lay down. I feel like I'm laying down on burlap. I call them up. I go, look, I'm in a hotel suite, and you've got me laying down like I'm a mule on hay. I go, where do you get your sheets from? They don't get it from Bowl and Branch. I said to them, and I'm on the phone, I go, these are the only sheets I want to sleep on when I'm at a hotel like this. Look, I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm going to sleep sitting up in my car before I lay down in your sheets. And I even said to the person, they're not expensive if you go online, you maniac. Let me talk to the general manager. I was patched in immediately. And this is what I said. You can get high-end $1,000 luxury linens for just a couple of $100. I myself am so confident that you'll love Bowl and Branch sheets that I'm going to let you wrist free for the next 30 nights. Gets better if you order right now. $50 off a set of sheets plus free shipping. Just go to bowlandbranch.com. Use their promo code Bennington. That's the promo code. You go to Boll and Branch. I'm going to spell it for you again. BOLL and branch.com. Use the promo code Bennington to get this great deal. Let me tell you, until then, folks, I just say try not to sleep for a couple of days before they come in. Because once you start to lie down in this beautiful bedding, you will not want anything else. Sleep like a baby at night. I sleep like an infant because I've got the right bedding. Bollandbranch.com. BOLL and branch.com. Use the promo code Bennington. It's the Bennington Show. Your best friends in the whole world.
Here we
We're
are.
back with you. Jay Leno was still complaining about Jimmy Kimmel for being too mean.
This is a real axe to grind.
Isn't it over?
Like him.
Really, Jimmy Kimmel knows he really hurt Jay Leno.
He hurt him bad.
Like, Leno doesn't bring up Letterman, but he brings up Kimmel.
But here's the thing. If you keep saying someone is too mean, right? Doesn't that start to make you mean after a while? Aren't you the bully by constantly saying someone else is a bully?
You can only go with two things there. You can either come off like a bully yourself or you come off babyish. Either way, if you keep bringing up how mean someone is, it's not going to work out for you, I don't think.
Yeah, and he's not saying he's mean to everyone. He's saying he was mean to him. But he's also saying he's so mean, that's why he finishes in third place. So when you keep bringing up something about someone's ratings, you know, Leno's out on this tour now to push his car show, and he's saying, I never liked interviewing celebrities, and I did it 8,500 times. And you just want to say, well, then why did you have the fucking Tonight Show, Jay?
Yeah.
Just so you could tell your jokes?
That's
it's a little selfish.
Jay, you're telling us you were miserable the entire time if you hated doing it. That was 2/3 of the show.
But it isn't just that he's miserable. He's basically saying anyone who cares about movies and TV shows and rock bands is stupid because I had no time for it. I'd rather talk about cars.
And then why did you fight to keep your spot there if that's what you
for
hated?
his chance to tell his jokes.
That monologue.
Oh, how he loves to tell his jokes.
That's sweet, sweet.
I don't know whether you saw this today, folks.
We didn't.
Yes.
Is he even saying anything?
Kim Kardashian. I'm not saying her butt's big, but pop, 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 pop. Man, what's up with Obama here? He's what do you do? Pass a bill or something? Maybe we got to pass on these fat cats down there in Washington. Biting. That's biting, the way you make fun of the people in Washington. This Donald Trump, huh?
Get him!
What's with his hair? Oh, that's strong. You know, Barry Diller said that he would leave the country if Donald Trump was elected. And I just think it's time that someone actually does that when they claim it. Just fucking says, what did I tell you? Well, now I'm out.
Goodbye.
I'm going to fucking slam the door as I move to Luxembourg.
Expat motherfucker.
To live the rest of my life. I just find that to be my favorite thing that people say. Some people get mad about it. I just think it's great when someone says, I will leave the country of my birth because I'm so unhappy with the person who got a job.
And then you'll be happy, won't you?
Why don't you, I don't ever say this. I will leave the country if the Patriots win another Super Bowl. I will only stay if the Packers win.
Please, Aaron Rodgers, I want to stay.
This is my home.
Cardinals, I'll stay. That would be exciting. New team like that.
Out of nowhere.
Bum, 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 bum. You know, the two teams that I always keep predicting are going to get better are the Rams and the Dolphins. I don't know why I say it. Well, I'm caught up in my own endless loop.
The Rams are just the most confusing team, whereas they can beat the Cardinals, but then they play it shit at home. It doesn't make any sense. They beat the Seahawks.
And they play it shit at home, you said.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. They lose at home, but they go into Arizona.
They don't have a home field advantage there. Have you ever seen their games? The people fucking don't show up. They don't like them because they know they're leaving. To have a home field advantage, you need a home. At least they're going, well, I'm playing here in Seattle. People are excited here. This is fun for me.
There's a 12th man.
We have not even a first man. That's how I'm not saying that St. Louis doesn't support their teams, but right?
I think so.
These fat cats in Washington ought to take a page out of their book. Yeah. You know, maybe we ought to lay some of them off, you know? Right. I mean, why don't we put Kim Kardashian in there? At least her ass. Bop, bop, bop.
I like her ass.
All these reference points you obviously got.
I just read about that person.
And school shooters, don't even get me started on them.
You should stay away from that.
Tell like it is.
You know who I wish got AIDS? Ooh, these fat cats in Washington. Because they'd spread AIDS back and forth. Because that's edgy Jay Leno. This material still goes back to the same things. I tell you who I'd like to ask fuck, folks. And
what?
One of these fat cats in Washington. Thinking Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Punch his card sometime. No, I'm gonna watch. He's got a show about cars but no coffee.
I don't get that. I don't like that.
You think fucking Seinfeld's going? Oh shit, yeah. Comedians and cars. I get you.
He's getting a little close.
Oh, who do we got here, Chris?
We have Mr. Dan Naturman.
Well, let's just bring him in.
Yeah, Dan Naturman's coming in the studio right now.
Dan Naturman is here and matches Gail completely. There's it really looks like the fall outfit that both you two could come walking out together.
I think we're in the same lookbook.
Okay, I didn't notice, but
I don't know what a lookbook is.
It's like when, you put out your stuff, like, here's what we're going to be doing for fall. It's not a catalog, but that's you.
Enjoy a nice water, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, because he said he was going to get me some water.
He said that, and then it's here already.
Yeah.
And
that's how quickly we work. Dan does a show here on it's on Raw Dog, correct?
On Raw Dog, yes. The Comedy Cellar show with Noam Dworman that airs Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Raw Dog Comedy Club.
Now, this show done from the famous comedians.
Yeah, we do it at the table, at the table in the corner that's reserved for comedians.
Now, at no time do you know who your guests are going to be?
Oh, we always know who. But we generally have two that we schedule, and if somebody's floating about, then it's sometimes hard to control. If people floating around and they sit down, and so sometimes we do get a surprise.
Right. So if Robert Kelly looks over and says, "Wait, there's a microphone," he may come running over.
He may come. Yeah, he may. And there's nothing to stop him.
There's nobody that can say
nobody can stop that.
You've
guy.
had your time, Bobby. No, I've got a couple things I need to say.
Yeah, so he might do that.
Yeah.
We had Ray Romano a couple of weeks ago. Was in the room,
right?
And he came over. And Jon Stewart was in the room just the other day, but we didn't have the nerve to ask him.
Now, what was he doing there? Just
he was doing stand up. He's back in the stand up scene.
Yeah.
So he had come there and he was sitting at the bar and we were doing our show and he was looking at us doing our show and we said, well, we're kind of intimidated.
So
Ray Romano is not intimidating for some reason.
But that's the thing. Like, here's the this would be like if a sports show was on, and Aaron Rodgers walked by and they just went, we better not ask. We better not see. Or if you were doing a political show, Hillary Clinton walks by, better not bother her.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
But but Noam's theory is because Noam's also the other host. He's the owner of the club, and he doesn't want a situation where John feels like he has to say no, but doesn't want to say no.
Right.
And because he's going to go down and perform at the club, and so Noam wants him to come to the club.
Yeah.
So there's two different interests there that are not necessarily in conformity.
Well, it is an amazing situation that he has there, and very few businesses could have such a thing where your biggest get that you could ever have will only show up and work for free when they want to. You know what I mean? There's nothing else like that in anything in life, you know?
Yeah, well, just 2 nights ago we had Amy Schumer was there, and Louis C.K. was there, and Jon Stewart, and they had all come on the same night unannounced, and yeah, they work for free just because they want to work out new material. Right. And no, obviously there's nothing, you know, in any kind of. Sometimes I guess music clubs maybe have.
I've never heard of a time. Like, sometimes, like, somebody will pop on stage with someone, but there is no kind of place to go. Well, maybe Springsteen might do it at a bar in Jersey.
But not at that level where you're getting the best of their time. I mean, that was shocking to me, like, the first time I went to the Cellar, because I found out about it and was like, okay, we'll see. We don't know who it's going to be. And every time I went, there would be tons of people that you'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
It's a very special time for that club. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
because no one's worried that it won't last forever. I give it at least another 5 years.
You'll give it 5 years?
Well, I think conservatively 5 years at this level.
Does that make him feel better when he hears?
Well, I don't know. 5 is probably enough for him to make his money, but, you know, there's more to it than the money. He also enjoys the energy.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I think 5 is, I think he would, well, he said to me he would gladly take half the money, but know it would continue forever.
Right.
With that knowledge.
Yeah.
Than this uncertainty.
Yeah.
So,
the uncertainty of who knows whether people still will want to do that.
Because every night is filling up 3 shows every weeknight, 7 on the weekends because he opened up a club around the corner, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. And so I don't know where they're coming from. A lot of them are tourists. Most of them are tourists.
You know, the club, which is really going to blow tourists away. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for a New Yorker to go in there and know about it. But if you happen to come in from Iowa and you see like 6, 7 performers in a row that you can't believe you're only sitting 15 or, 20 feet away from. That's like how people must have felt in the Apollo during the, during the Jazz age. It would really blow my mind if I just came from out of town. But the club that he has around the corner now, what's the name of that one?
It's it's a Comedy Cellar at the Village Underground. It's a music club, few days a week, and comedy on the weekend.
It is simply the club that, in the back of my mind, a comedy club should look like. It's like a comedy club always looked like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I would think of like the old records that got done back in the early 60s and you never saw the club, you would just, know that these some kind of jazz thing, some kind of beat thing. It's got the best feel of it, of any club I've ever been to.
We actually all prefer the original Comedy Cellar. Yeah, because it's smaller, so somehow the laughs seem to get concentrated.
Right.
And the bigger room, it's like the laughs are not you don't feel them as much. But as far as the customer experience, it's probably better. You have more room, you're a little more cramped at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah, you got a little more room and it just feels cool. There's a great, like you could imagine if Dylan would come up in that room. It just feels like it could happen that way.
I met last night at the Comedy Cellar is Burton Cummings. Does that name mean anything to you?
Burton Cummings.
The Guess Who?
Yeah, was 19, and then even a second band, I believe, after that. So Burton Cummings just dropped.
He was in the audience. Yeah. And he came up to me after the show. I didn't know who he was. I know the Guess Who, but he's like, oh, that was really good, eh? I'm a very thick Canadian accent. And I said, hey, you're from Canada. And he said, yeah, Winnipeg. It's cold up there, but I live in L.A. now. But I had no idea who he was.
How did it get around to him?
Well, then Noam started talking to him, and somehow he brought it up. He said, hey, you know the Guess Who? I think he just brought it up. He wasn't shy about it. And we said, yeah. And then Noam knew the name. Oh, Burton Cummings. And then it hit Noam. But I would have never, I didn't know, I never heard the name Burton Cummings. I just know the Guess Who. Then I sang Share the Land, and he didn't seem to appreciate my version.
It didn't seem like he was part of that at all.
He didn't like my cover version.
Oh, did he do anything besides the Guess Who, Chris?
Bachman Cummings, the Deverons.
Well, did he do Bachman Turner Overdrive, or was he not part of that?
No, he was not part of it.
Because the Bachman Cummings is Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive. All those Canadian bands.
Yeah, there's bad blood, as I understand it, between. He didn't bring it up last night, but I read online that he doesn't like Bachman. Bachman became a Mormon and got real religious, I guess, and some weird, I don't know. But
Not in BTO, just with Bachman Cummings.
That's funny, though, that Mormon is like the last mainstream religion that we can say he got weird. He got weird. He became a Mormon.
Well, I would say that about anybody that's too into any religion. You know, but so in this case, it happened to be Mormonism. But I would say that about anybody that's off, you know, too religious in any category.
When does it become too for you? Is there a point where you're like, when people bring it up out of nowhere, it always...
Yeah, I think it's more when it becomes a suggestion. Like, you know what you'd be into.
Well, quoting the Bible. You know, I heard this, I was at Pret a Manger the other day, and these two women next to me were talking, and one of them said, "Well, you know, the Lord says that the Lord smiles on the richest and the white and the righteous and the wicked." Like, just part of the conversation.
Right, yeah.
Like, they were just talking about whatever. And she said, "You know, it's, the Lord said." And the Bible was used just in the like casually, sort of. And I was like, well, all right, that's a bit odd. That might be for me.
I don't mind people who talk to God. I feel like, okay, you're desperate, you say whatever you need. But when someone says that God told them to do something, that's always like a real red flag. How do you know it wasn't just you? You know, like God told me to go eat extra ice cream. You know, most of the thoughts that I get seem like good ideas, but I don't act like I got them from a greater power than me.
I think just too much chattiness about it in general is bad. It's private. That's your thing. It should be viewed as like masturbation. It's something you do in the privacy of your own home.
But I talk about that all the time.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about masturbation now.
Well, Canadians tend to, especially.
Yeah.
But I suppose most folk.
Right.
Most folks shouldn't.
Sure.
Most folk.
I just meant doing it, maybe, is what I meant.
Oh, you're doing it.
That should be private.
That should be private.
Well, I think both things you fall to your knees, which,
sure,
you know, it's helpful. But the thing about religion is we don't realize, because we live in New York and the people in LA don't, how much it does play in other places in the country. And it comes up a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, it comes up a lot. I had a friend who was in a car accident, damaged his hip, and said that, you know, God saved him, so he gave himself over. So he was talking about God all the time. And I finally called him and like, he said God saved his life. And I go, you damaged your hip, though. You know what I mean? It's not like your throat or you were bleeding out.
Sure.
You were saved by medical people. I think you've given away too much credit by just saying that your life was saved on that gurney that day. Maybe you'd be walking with more of a limp. I'll give you that much.
There's a lot of on Facebook. You see a lot of people ask you to pray all the time.
Yeah.
You know, do you see those posts?
Yeah.
People say, please send. I don't know. Is it working? I don't know. I haven't read the latest medical literature in terms of whether there's been a decrease in mortality.
Yeah.
Since Facebook.
But
my guess is I don't know. But people do seem to always say, please send your prayers and light and healing and. You know.
Yeah, they're very comfortable doing that, but you can only do that when someone is like really ill. I don't think you should be praying for them when they're healthy.
Or it's like a football game.
Yeah.
Right.
My kid's got a football game. Please pray for him.
Yeah. Or I put a bet down. Please pray that the Steelers cover this weekend.
I really need this.
Have you ever prayed? Because I know you're a heavy gambler.
Yeah, I pray.
And you're not a religious person.
No, I'm not.
But you will pray.
Yeah. I scream, please, God, let them kick this field goal or not kick this, whatever I need at the time.
Yeah, do you offer anything up? Do you say that you'll change?
Yeah, like I've said, like, I'll stop drinking. Just give me this or something. I'll say, please, just give me this. I need it bad.
Well, one day when you win a bet, because I've never met anyone who loses the way you lose.
I thought the Cardinals were locked last week. They lose to the Rams.
Did you bet against the Globetrotters?
I think
like
they're
Krusty
due.
the Clown.
I'll take the Generals. I think they're due. The Washington Generals. The Generals was maybe my favorite basketball team of all time because they also knew that when comedy happened, just stand over to the side and let it take place. They didn't start yelling at
They
the
were
ref.
a great
"What about-"
straight team.
Yeah. They didn't say, what about the game that we're putting on here? Dan, let me ask you this, because you're at the Cellar all the time, and there's all this excitement going on. You never know who's going to come in. If you go do a road gig, do you kind of miss that? You say to yourself, now
Yeah, I'd rather be at the Comedy Cellar because that's where my friends are. There is that excitement, too. If I'm on the road, the only person there is me, which is usually a lot less exciting. But also my friends are there, and it's also home. You know, I don't love to travel. Most comedians don't. I don't think any do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a couple of odd ones. I went, Doug Stanhope once told me he loves it, but other than a few weirdos on the fringes, most comedians
would rather
stay home.
Yeah, would not be on the road. And yet there's a lot of comedians who just stay on the road. There's a lot of comics who professionally go out and do 40 weeks.
Well, there's more money to me, but that's why we go. Now, I made the decision not to have a wife and kid. No, I didn't make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
But that's the situation. So I just don't have as many financial needs.
So
it's amazing what the money you can save. Without a wife and a kid.
Yeah. But that is because, did you, in the back of your mind, did you think that you would, this would be a way of keeping yourself more free? Or did it just...
No, I don't think I actually made that conscious decision, but over time it's like, that's working out. But no, I have, there's other reasons why I don't have a wife and kid that have to do with just my own incapacity for commitment and, closeness with another human being. But it turns out financially to be also helpful.
It's always funny too, out of many choices that human beings can make, that's the one that people have the most trouble with. When you have a friend who's single, the friend and family try to get them to change themselves, even though they say they're comfortable. But if you did that with a gay person, everybody would act like you were anti something.
Yeah.
But we do not believe the movie that George Clooney did called yeah. At the end of it, it had to show that his life was awful, rather than here's a guy who made a choice, had a philosophy about not taking on responsibilities because maybe they were and we couldn't give him the break that it works for this one dude.
Right.
It really had me crazy at the end of that film.
Well, I think when people do that, you can feel that what they're saying is like, I want to tie you up in a little bow, make sure you're taken care of, and put you over there. Because that's that's the only way of life I know. I read an article a few weeks ago about a woman who was a widow, and she was saying how fast people were like, so when are we going to get you in the dating world?
Yeah.
And you're like, she could tell what they were doing is just being like, I don't want to worry about you and think about you sad at home.
Right.
So you need to find someone so I'm less sad. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And with women that don't, the same thing with the pressure with women that don't have kids. If men don't have kids, that's a little bit more accepted. But women that don't have kids, they say, what do you mean you don't have? I mean, it's like they're considered weird.
Why would even someone talk to someone?
It happens
that?
constantly.
It's crazy.
Constantly.
Yeah. But people would say, well, I remember Paul Feig said, we're traveling through Europe, and he actually said, my wife and I don't have kids, so we get to travel a lot. We have that going for it. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a fantastic choice.
Yeah.
So you don't have to cover for anything.
Right.
You've worked it out perfectly. By the way, on the Interbank today, there is a story up about the table where Nick DiPaolo takes full credit for being the person who invented the table and saying it was all his idea.
Well, I can't speak to that. It could be.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that ever.
Is that
right? So, one has to be a little skeptical. But it might be.
Yeah.
He's certainly a wonderful addition to the table when he's there.
Who, and you can explain this to the people around the country, who are the regulars at the table at the...
Keith Robinson, Robert Kelly, Jim Norton, I'm there a lot, Dov Davidoff, and people, I don't know, do you know Harrison Greenbaum?
Yes, very, very funny.
Hannibal Buress.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have, like when Ray Romano comes, he'll sit down there and he'll sit there and stay.
Yeah.
And we say to ourselves, geez, is his marriage okay? Why is he here?
Yeah, why is he here? He made another choice. Yeah.
Because he hangs out there. He doesn't just come and do his 10 minutes and leave. He'll often sit down and stay and eat a whole plate of chicken wings.
Well, because he's hanging out with comics and he's having fun. And now, what happens when, tourists around the country, they look over and they'll see 7 or 8 of their favorite comedians sitting there? Do they want to approach?
They do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes they don't really notice. Like John Mayer and Katy Perry were sitting there one night. Because John Mayer was, for a brief period of time, he was flirting with doing stand-up, and he had done some stand-up. He brought Katy Perry with him. They were sitting at the table, and nobody, and these two are the biggest stars ever, and I don't think anybody recognized them, because I don't know why. Maybe
because they weren't on the stage. They were
they were in a context you wouldn't expect, and they were at this table in the corner and not facing people. So I think a lot of times people don't even know who's there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, and they come over. And by the way, just to anybody listening, don't ask Louis C.K. to take a picture. He doesn't do that.
He doesn't like to take pictures.
No, he's perfectly cordial and nice to his fans. He has something about taking pictures. I don't know what it is. Maybe he thinks somehow it's going to get photoshopped into something weird.
Well, that can happen.
You know, so he has a no picture policy, but you're welcome to say hello.
Now, Jim Norton.
But don't stay too long, or some of these guys will, get grouchy.
But Jim Norton wants a picture of everyone every moment of the day. In case that person becomes famous one day, it will be documented. And then at the end of the night, everyone raises their glasses to Nick DiPaolo and they say, Nick,
thank you for all you've done.
Thank you for the table.
We give him thanks.
And at the beginning of the night, this is the first drink at Nick's table. He claims it's because the comics had nowhere to go. And
he might have, I don't know if he's saying, because the table existed, that table existed anyway, but it wasn't official.
Right.
So that there might be, on a given night, regular customers sitting there eating, and then, there was no table. But it might have been Nick's idea to make this a comics-only table with a little sign that says comics only.
Right.
And that sign is sometimes ignored when it comes to a girl. Well, John Mayer, obviously, not a comic, and Katy Perry is certainly welcome to sit there. You know, comics, and the unwritten rule is, and the very famous, or a girlfriend that somebody's trying to have sex with.
I see. So a girlfriend is acceptable.
And or somebody that's somebody's trying to have sex with, and or a girlfriend, and or somebody very famous. But mostly it's just the comedians.
Or sometimes...
And Noam Dorman, the owner, who's not a comedian technically, but we let him sit there.
Right. Since it's his table.
Well, it's his club, and the table's in the club. So
the table is Nick's.
Legally,
obviously.
That's a tough question.
I mean, if this table were to leave there and go to the Smithsonian, and I believe one day it will, I believe that this is a legendary table.
I think it is. I don't know if the Smithsonian is going to be its final resting place.
Well, we don't know, because there could become a hipper restaurant than the Smithsonian. But if you go up at the Algonquin, that table is still there, and people come by to see the table. All the people who sat at the table are dead, but they still want to see the table. Very few, and I'm sure there's always been like a table out in L.A. You know, they say that out in L.A. at different restaurants, they would move you around depending on how well your career was doing, right?
Right.
So if you were running a studio or you were Tom Cruise, you got what they thought of as a good table. But if you weren't, you would get one, I guess, either closer to the bathroom, the kitchen, or the front door. And to those people, that kind of stuff mattered very much.
It'd be hard to see that you've been downgraded. Like,
I can't believe I'm sitting here.
He used to sit right there by the window. What happened? One flop? That's it?
Yeah. I did Geely, and now I'm eating on finally just eat on the floor. We'll give you a napkin with your food in it. But it's Nick's table, or the Nick table, as it's sometimes called.
Sometimes.
I can't wait for that. Chris, go ahead. Just plug away.
Dan Naturman's in studio. He co-hosts the Comedy Cellar show with Noam Dorman, which airs Thursdays at 7 p.m. That's tonight on Raw Dog Comedy Club. On tonight's episode, Judah Friedlander and Phil Hanley.
Love.
Yes, and it so happens that Keith Robinson sat down for a spell as well.
Was that right? Unannounced.
He was sitting there kind of looking, judging.
Right.
You know, looking at us, judging us, and making me uncomfortable, as he often does, and he sat down.
Well, you know, Judah's not just a comedian, but an artist.
And a world champion.
Yeah, and a world champion of several things, and trainer of other world champions. But now he's taken his talents, and he's got the book out of his... They're basically one-panel comic strips. Have you seen it yet?
I leaf through.
You've just leaf through it.
Well, yeah, he was there with the book, and I kind of leaf through it.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of great blurbs.
Yeah.
From... I guess people he knows from, the business. Susan Sarandon blurbed.
That's going to be nice.
And Tina Fey blurbed.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they blurb just because, like, oh, it's Judah, let's blurb.
Right.
So,
Or do you think they took the time to sit down and go through? Because no one ever says, I loved 70% of these cartoons. 5 offended me, but the rest of them are at least acceptable. I got a chance to see it. I think it's hysterical.
Oh, you read?
Yeah, I had 5 minutes.
I like the.
Yeah,
it's not War and Peace.
Yeah,
it's a fairly quick, quick read. I did like his other book, the book about how to beat up anybody.
Yeah, that's great.
So if this is as good as that, then I would say that it's worth looking at.
That should have been the blurb. If this was as good as
I didn't
his
have
last
time
book,
to check it out, but
I would look at it, not necessarily read it, but look as you did. You thumb through it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite and least favorite interviews that you've had? Because the difference between, I think some people are amazed at stand-up comics. Some are very funny with their written material, but not off the cuff funny. And some people are just always
I don't want to
funny.
say who was bad because I
Yeah.
see these people regularly.
Yeah, okay.
But Ray Romano was very, very good.
Yeah.
Ray Romano was really good. Ray Romano's pretty funny off the cuff, more than a little. And, and very nice. And you can talk about anything with him. And we had him on and he happened to be with, Meg Ryan and Randy Quaid's son.
Mm-hmm.
Who looks just like Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
And as soon as he smiled, I saw the scene where Meg Ryan woke up next to Harry. When smiled.
Yeah.
I remember that. And
now,
a little disturbing because it was a guy.
I think I'd be stunned if Meg Ryan just walked into a room. I would not expect to see her in real life.
Well, it wasn't her, but it was the same face.
Yeah. But his Randy Quaid back in the news, they want to kick him out of Canada. Did you see the recent picture of him?
Oh, yeah.
Chris
yeah.
put that up. He's done some interesting shit with the beard. And this is up on the Interbank today, too. The beard has gotten very, very big and very, very wild. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like it's Santa Claus, like crazy Santa Claus.
Wait, did I say Randy Quaid? I meant Dennis Quaid. Was
Dennis
his son.
Quaid.
Yeah, did I say it was I meant
Randy.
Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son.
Okay.
Because Meg Ryan and Randy Quaid never had a kid together.
That would have been amazing.
But Randy Quaid is the weird one.
numbers all over there, Chris. You got to straighten it out.
I would not recognize him if I saw him walking down the street. I think I would just be like,
Well, it looks like the Crosby, Stills, and Nash dude a little bit.
Little David Crosby.
Yeah.
Certainly in the hair, for sure.
Yeah.
It's got a Crosby texture.
No, Randy was always the eccentric guy who then crossed over into everyone's concerned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a little while, everybody was like, oh, this is fun how wacky he's acting. And now people are like, why can't Canada do something to help him?
He picks the government's after him. Oh, that's
Wait, they're not
oh,
Canadians,
no.
are they?
No, but he ran away because, according to him, the government was killing celebrities.
Oh, okay.
Every time a celebrity dies of any causes, Randy believes it's a murder done by, I don't know, ninjas or something out
Illuminati,
there.
maybe.
Yeah, Illuminati.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it could happen that way. But
he's onto something.
Yeah.
And he went to Montreal.
Yeah, he's in Montreal now.
I do. If I were to leave America because the government was trying to kill me, I happen to like Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal.
I would go there. I was actually in Toronto recently, and I don't know if you have a lot of Toronto listeners. That might be
We
offended
do.
by that,
It's
but I just think Montreal's so much prettier.
well, Montreal. You do feel like you're in another country.
Yeah, it's also interesting because the French thing. So you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting, you
Right.
know.
Well, there's nothing like, and we get this in New York, hearing people at another table speak another language sounds just beautiful. I don't care if it's Italian or French, but when you hear them in English, you can hear how stupid and mundane they are. But they might be having the same conversations in another
Right,
language.
and you think it's very
But
intelligent.
it sounds like you're hearing music. It just sounds like, oh, I'm so cosmopolitan that
Well,
I'm
that's
sitting
like,
here.
when you hear sometimes a song in another language and you just
Yeah.
assume that this is poetic.
Yeah. Oh, this is
But all they're really
beautiful.
saying is, baby, baby, baby.
Yeah.
I want to get you,
Yeah.
you know.
I have this experience when I see little kids on the street, like speaking French or something. I'm like, he's very smart.
Yeah, he's a bright
he knows
young man.
so many languages.
Right. It is amazing when you studied it in high school and you just couldn't get, and then you see a 5-year-old just speaking, it's like, he gets a subjunctive? How does he do that? 'Cause I struggle with that for years.
Well, if the thing is, if they can teach us another language, which we all struggle with, why aren't we trying to teach babies physics? Why don't we just figure that's the time to learn?
Yeah, the brain, for some reason, a kid's brain is good at languages and horrific at physics. And probably even worse at calculus.
But it's amazing that little kids won't even, like, you can actually teach them 2 languages. And there's, at the same time, like a kid, if he's an English kid, and he has a French mother and grandparents and all, he'll pick up both language. But then if he has like a Spanish maid, he'll pick that up easy as well. So like learning 2 languages for him is easier than learning 1.
Yeah.
And I remember you, Gail, just struggling with English.
Yeah.
And we were just constantly picking up like, this? Is that what you want?
I don't know.
No? All right, I'm going to move on. These, the pens. And like, I remember saying to the doctor, like, how do you know if she's stupid or we're just doing a bad job at it? Well, no, this is nice. These are people here. There's a tour going by.
Oh, they're so well dressed.
Yeah,
They're
it's
very
just like
well-dressed tour.
lovely women from.
They're very
We should find out where they're in from, and if any of them would like to be on the radio. They're more than. Yeah, we're going to send the dumbest person we have, Vito, to do it instead of you, Joe. You're like a regular person, Joe. But if we send Vito in, he's going to fright. Like, look, you see him pointing. Like, do you want these people to eat you like I will? Look at the size of him.
God, he towers over all of them.
Do you want to bring everyone in? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
Yeah. Who do we got, Vito?
University of Miami.
All right, well, grab. We got the Canes. Come on in. Grab a microphone over here.
Vito.
These are communications majors.
Yeah. Now, what are you guys doing in from the University of Miami? Marketing. Now, and this is to find out what kind of jobs there are in New York City?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. There are jobs, but there's nowhere affordable for you to live. Yeah, what you're doing together would be the apartment that you'll be living in. All of you splitting time. What's your name, darling?
Me, I'm Haley.
Yeah. Haley, what is your dream? What's your New York dream that you're here for?
My New York dream, move out of my parents' home and find my own place.
All right. Now, this is famous comedian Dan Naturman. He is also single. And Dan, you say you struggle finding someone?
No.
No.
No, but people don't believe me, but I turn it away.
You turn away?
Often.
Relationships.
Yeah. These girls are about much too young for me. Even if I lied about my age.
Right.
Even if I said I was 34, which is already a tremendous lie.
Yeah.
That would still be horrifically too old.
So you want to find somebody your exact age?
No, but they don't like, but ideally,
But
no.
they're so well dressed.
But oh, you don't? Is that sarcastic?
No,
people hate this.
No, it's a great look for you. Now, who here doesn't want to live in New York? You're already in Miami. Why isn't that enough? Why do you want more?
I love New York.
It's New York City. This is the place, right?
We were just talking about languages. If they're
Yeah.
from Miami, they must be Spanish speakers.
No. French, maybe?
We're from everywhere, actually.
Yeah, the
We just live
University of
for
Miami is
school.
in the city of Miami, but it's its own place.
Yeah.
And they get together, and their football team cheats, and they go on, and they win.
I think we should leave now.
You win, but you cheat to win. Then we have to take away the ability to play. But that's FSU. It's really adorable because
this weekend.
when you're in, who are you playing?
FSU.
Now, this is when in Florida, it's so much bigger than the pro games. There are 3 big colleges there, and they all despise each other, and yet to the outside world they look exactly the same. So then you couldn't offer any of these kids a room in your...
No, I have a studio.
A studio.
Yeah, which is a room. And I use it.
Yeah. All right, when you're done, I'm going to get you tickets to the Anthony Cumia show, and you'll do much better for yourself, ladies. Thank you. Enjoy your trips. If there's anything we could ever do, let us know, all right?
Okay.
You need to find places to eat. Call us. Well,
Thank you. Bye.
look how young, and they have the American dream. I love it. They believe. This
Silly.
city will beat you down. Don't come here. Thank you so much. My name was just announced on the radio. Vito, you're terrible with grabbing mics, and you could have turned down the sound outside. Did that intimidate you a little bit?
That you were talking about me. Well, I felt a little like a gross old man because you're trying to set me up with 20-year-olds.
But this is show business.
Yeah.
They're in your wheelhouse. You've earned that. You've earned
But I
that.
feel gross.
Yeah.
I have nothing against a lovely young lady, but then I feel I'm embarrassed to take my clothes off. Well, I was embarrassed even at that age, but it's not, it's gotten worse. I just feel gross. I don't like when people look at me and say, "What's this old fool doing with this, young flower?"
You know what I like is to see that even though I tried to warn them, they still wanted to come here.
They'll
They
come.
don't believe.
They feel that their education is going to help them in this town.
That's how I felt when they tried to tell me don't do stand-up comedy for a career. I said, "Well, you're just you don't get it. I'm a brilliantly talented guy,
right?
And maybe these rules apply to you, but not to me."
Yeah.
Turns out they apply to me quite nicely.
You just lay there in your studio apartment. Why didn't I listen?
I say that tongue in cheek, like a normal person would do normal stuff, but I had no choice but to get into this.
But I think that's the main. I think that's the best reason to tell kids not to do stand up, because the ones who are driven will do it anyway.
Yeah.
So you should tell every open micer, you don't have a chance. Stop doing it. Cut it out. And then anyone who believes you shouldn't be in it.
I don't go that far, but I do tell people, if they ask me, I say, if you think you might enjoy something else, I think you should go that way. But if the thought of doing anything else is just absolutely just repugnant, and you would rather, if you can say, I'd rather be 60 years old and not have made it but tried, than have a nice family and a nice house in Long Island or whatever, and in the suburban life, if that,
the odd thing about that guy, he still has the dream. He's 60 and he goes, you know what? I gave up the dream for these children in this house and everybody's security, but I could have made it. Where if you tried, then the dream is even gone for you. You don't even have the dream itself. That's gone. Now, Ray Romano, he can sit there. He can, I've done it all. I'm still unhappy. I don't know why. Because if you see Ray Romano, because even last year he was one of the highest paid entertainers of the year, because the show does just as well that it's off. And I believe he was the last comic to catch that kind of wave. What I mean?
He was he was the last guy out.
Yeah. That, you could be mainstream comedy, life is good, and that's it. By the way, are you freezing in here? You look
No, I'm fine.
Because I can turn this.
No, cool.
You're in a worse seat than anyone else.
I'm feeling no pain. I think it's perfect.
Okay, good. I'm going to bring all the kids back in here and try to find one that you're a pederast for. I'm going to bring third graders in.
Okay.
Yeah.
See how you do.
By the way, they were so happy just to.
I know.
And someone said, "I heard my name on the radio." They said, "That's how
the
young
people, it's
got to be
refreshing,
wonderful to be that young." Vito, who was
I wasn't happy at that age. But
no,
theoretically, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
I was already medicated.
Right, I was at that age. I would have figured out how to get off the tour and not be part of it, and to have wasted my day.
But I would have gotten a kick out of being on the radio, and would have gotten a kick out of that. Yeah.
That's what you were interested in, any kind of show business when you were a kid.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And still am. I still find it kind of cool, but, obviously not quite as much.
I remember being a kid, and even the game show people who did the game shows, they were just like giant celebrities to me. Like I couldn't see the difference between somebody who was on the $20,000 pyramid and who had done Gone with the Wind. They both were equals. You know what I mean?
You're talking about Dick Clark, or they get contestants?
Any of the celebrities that would go on.
Okay, like Jimmy Baio.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, that's it. That's what it's all about. Any of the match game people, forget about it. They were it to me. Joey, for you, who was somebody that you thought was a celebrity, didn't turn out to be?
Oh boy!
Because if I would have seen anyone from TV, I remember when I saw a local weatherman came to my school. I go, Jesus Christ, this is about as big as it can get, isn't it? It was like the Queen Elizabeth had shown up.
Yeah, I was impressed even by the guy at the local radio station.
Oh yeah,
they were doing the school closings.
Right? Yeah,
it's like, well, you're the school closing guy.
Yeah, this is remarkable. The school closing guy has shown up today. Who was it for you?
It would have to be this local radio DJ who would do like prank calls, and then one day my friend got on the show, and it literally just blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait, you talked to them? You talked to them? And then, I got a little bit older and I realized that it was the same thing. He was doing like the weather report.
Yeah,
which was fine,
the American Graffiti did it perfectly because they were driving around looking for Wolfman Jack, and then they found this dude in like a trailer broadcasting, and he was eating popsicles and stuff, and they're like, we're looking for Wolfman Jack. And he's like, well, you'll never find him here. No one knows where he is. You know what I mean? And as they're walking away, they hear the Wolfman Jack voice. That was his. But even Wolfman Jack was like brilliant of putting that over everything else. And I remember two people, like when I was doing radio in Florida, Wolfman Jack had called me because he was doing an appearance. And he had done a thing where, hey man, I'm never going to come to town without checking you out first, and doing this thing of just fucking putting me over 1,000,000% with the audience. And another person who did that was Ed McMahon. That was Johnny Carson's sidekick. And he had sat and talked to me and brought up things as if they had happened before.
Right.
Just because he knew broadcasting enough, put the fucking guy over, no matter what's going on.
I probably had that experience where I thought somebody was bigger than they were with wrestling as a kid, but not just like the big guy, like to see a jobber was like a big deal to me. Yeah. And I didn't understand that everybody didn't feel that way.
Right.
Like like meeting kids who would say like, yeah, that's fake. I was like, what?
You're
fake. You say that? These are big stars.
Yeah.
Big stars.
I remember because I had played the kind of fantasy week style baseball, and some of those guys who I met that were stars to me when I was a kid. But then if you didn't grow up in that town, you didn't know them. Then I had them in a limo, and I stopped at my radio station, and they went upstairs to take a piss in their uniforms, and no one knew who they were. And I was just, I'm like, they're in their fucking uniform.
Come on.
It's Johnny Callison. Why aren't we going crazy right now? Dan Naturman sitting in his plug away, will you, Chris?
Dan co-hosts the Comedy Cellar show with Noam Dworman that airs tonight at 7 p.m. East on Raw Dog Comedy Club. Judah Friedlander's in with them this week, and Phil Hanley, and Keith Robinson stops by for a spell.
Keith comes out much like Bob Hope used to on The Tonight Show, just walks out as the orchestra starts to play.
Are you saying for a spell? Because did I say for a spell?
Yes, you did.
That doesn't sound like something you would say.
I thought that too.
Who says for a spell besides me?
Well, I wasn't sure how long a spell was, so I was going with your...
You quoted him directly.
So this is how slang spreads.
Yeah.
Where somebody will hear it immediately and then just repeat it.
Oh, he was in for a spell. Yeah.
Yeah.
A spell.
Love a spell.
But you'd never used it before.
Never.
You just got busted, really.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I got exposed.
Quickly ready to fit in wherever he goes. That's great salesmanship, though.
Thank you. That's happening tonight, 7 p.m. on Raw Dog, the Comedy Cellar
Every
show.
Thursday, in fact.
Every Thursday for a spell.
Just for a spell.
That should be in the promo. Stop by for a spell.
Yeah.
You do say for a spell?
I think I said it earlier, and then he picked up, and it's something that I would say.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use that old-timey.
Right.
Stuff.
Well, when you said it, we just let it go by. But when Chris said it, you just put a stick in his spokes and stop the bicycle right there.
Well, where are you from, Chris?
I'm from Astoria, Queens.
See, they don't say spell.
No, they wouldn't say spell. Where'd you grow up, Dan?
In Stamford, Connecticut.
And that's where they say spell.
More likely than in Queens.
Yeah.
But not really there either. I don't know where they say.
Do you go
Probably
back?
like down in Carolina.
Do you go back home much?
No, not too much.
It's a good town for pizza.
Stamford?
Yeah.
It is?
People don't bring up enough about
No, you're
Connecticut.
thinking of New Haven, maybe.
New Haven, but there's Stamford places too. They're just as strong. New Haven gets a little more of the brush, but I also say that there's good hot dogs in that area as well. I personally stop at a place in Bridgeport, but not everybody agrees with me.
That's Danny's in Bridgeport?
Yeah, I'm not going to just drive through this area that he grew up in and not.
Do you live up that way?
No, I don't at all. But if I'm going through New England at all, I make sure I make some Connecticut stops. And I implore other people to do the same thing. Chris,
where are you at? Are you in Manhattan?
Yeah, I live in Manhattan. Chris, if you ever go up there for a spell, here's what I want you to do.
Okay, well, I don't know how much time I'll have, but...
Or is there a new? Have you picked up 23 Skidoo since the last time that I saw you? Did you hear a cartoon jazz cat say something, and now you're just running with it?
I'm still stuck on spell.
Yeah. Because there is no... slang exists at different places in the country, but I think Astoria just falls into a national amount of slang. There was no words that you grew up with that other people didn't.
There was one that my dad would use, a slang word for black people that I've never heard.
I'm not even. I don't know why that you would take it to this place.
He would say hamster, and I'd never heard anyone else say that before. It made no sense to me. It was very weird.
That's got to be made up.
That's your grandfather?
No, father.
Oh, father.
If you will Google it, you will see that it exists, Chris.
Okay.
And that it's every bit as offensive as the N-word. As a matter of fact, I call it the H-word.
All right. Well, I never used it. My father did.
You just used it now. You couldn't wait to drop the H-bomb on everybody. You couldn't wait to get out there. Here's one where I grew up. I've never heard it anywhere else, but if instead of skipping school, we would say that we bunked. We're going to bunk school tomorrow. We bunked yesterday. And then anywhere else I've gone, I brought up, well, did you bunk school? And people are like, what do you... How does one bunk a school?
Was the word to cap on somebody to make fun of them? Was that just my town, or was that? Do you remember that?
To
as well?
cap,
like I was capping on him. I mean, I was making fun of him.
No, I've never heard that, and I love it.
Like that.
Never heard of it.
It was, I don't know if it was our town or Bob, just my school or just my class.
Now, here's one for you too. This might even date me some, but when you would screw around with somebody, if you would tease them, you would play the dozens. So he was playing the dozens would be like, we acted like something was happening and it wasn't. And again, it's when then people will go, well, let's say when you say cap, we'll go, what is that supposed to mean? Well, you never consider it when you hear it, you repeat it. It's a word. You don't know the root of that word. And yet you'll get out places and people demand that you now define the word and where it came from. And you're like, I can't help you there. I don't know why we bunked school. All right, Joe is from a weird place called St. Paul. Did you say anything that we didn't?
I can only think of one, which was for drugs, where if kids smoking like a blunt or something, if the side of the blunt started burning more than the other side, we would call that canoeing.
Canoeing. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Canoeing.
Everybody says
But then I moved to LA for a year, and everyone there said side burning.
Side burning.
Yeah, side
That's
burning.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
No. Canoeing is correct.
You were correct the first time.
All right.
I'm going to give you another one from my neighborhood. If you came up and all the kids were playing something and you wanted to play, you would say, give me a game. So if they were playing basketball, you go, hey, give me a game. And that all that meant was let me play.
Right.
But then if I ever said it outside that neighborhood, people are like, how could one give you a game? Doesn't make. Then I'm like, well, you're going too far with this. Another thing in my neighborhood is that you could ask, if someone was eating anything, you could ask for halves. And if you said it before they said no halves, they had to give you half of what they were eating. Sometimes you could just say hunks and get a hunk of what they were eating.
No halves, no hunks.
Exactly what you had to say.
Where was this again?
It was outside of Philadelphia. Another thing is if somebody had come in and you could yell, if they were playing a pinball machine, you could ask for flips. If they didn't yell no flips first, they had to let you play half of their game with them.
That's very annoying.
We lived by a style, I think that, I'm going to say it was a very gentleman's style, now that I have to think back about it. There was a code, there was an honor code there. Here's Jerry in Connecticut. Go ahead, Jerry, what do you got?
Hey, guys, back in high school, if you wanted to get a good deal on something, you'd say you drew them down.
See, that's,
right.
I'm going to put that with the H word.
H-bomb.
That's something that you learned at an age where you were not prepared for how offensive that was.
Right.
So that's like that's frowned upon today. That's sort of
No, it was frowned upon then. You just didn't know it. And when it came to black people, I had learned a million offensive things and had no idea how offensive it was until years later.
Right.
If I told you how we played Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, you would think that I made it up.
And that's the kind of stuff, too, that you were taught by adults sometimes. So you were like, the phrases or the terms, you're like, oh, this must be what it's called.
Yeah. Well, you don't obviously you don't think of that at all. Even slightly. Even stuff like saying somebody was gypped comes from a gypsy culture, but you don't think of that at all when you first learn things. You just repeat.
Indian giver.
Yeah, and an Indian giver is another one.
You never even hear that one anymore, but that was very common.
Yeah, and it actually, the weird thing is we're the ones that were Indian givers. White people were the ones who broke treaties. The Indians never did. The Indians didn't go, no, now we want the land back.
They didn't have the power, even if they could.
Here's Garth. What's up, Garth?
Hey, what's going on, Bennington?
Yeah.
I grew up in northern Maine, small little town, and there was a route through town that we would drive at night to see what everyone was up to and make plans, and it was called taking a tool.
And you would take a tool?
Yep, we would take a tool, go see what was going on for the night.
No, weirdly, I've heard the term tooling around before.
Yeah.
But never heard taking a tool.
So this is the only way to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. Here is Kurt, South Carolina.
Hey, Ron, back where I'm from in West Michigan, if you got out of your chair and you wanted to get it back without anybody jumping in there, you had to call seat love.
Seat love meant no one could take your seat after you got up.
You call fives.
Off limits, you call seat love, that's yours.
And that's your seat for the entire night.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you call seat love, it doesn't blanket the entire
seat.
Because you love your seat?
It does take a society of honor to say seat love doesn't matter here.
Right.
You know what I mean? They are willing to say, well, he did yell seat love.
That's it.
You're going to have to get up now.
You got it.
Mark, what's up?
Hey, guys. Love the show.
It is
up
good.
here in Windsor, Ontario, whenever we go to a restaurant, we'd always ask them, what kind of pop do you have? Meaning, what kind of Pepsi or Coke? And then I went down to Florida one time and I was at a restaurant. I asked them what kind of pop they had. They had no idea what I was talking about.
When I was a kid, I went to Wisconsin and people said, what kind of pop do you want? And I thought they were insane.
Yeah.
I go, I guess a small will do it for me. And then I also want some soda after that.
Please.
But I was thrown off completely. And I heard it from adults and it sounded like they were talking babyish.
Yeah, there's something very babyish about that term. It's almost British sounding to me, because I always feel like the British terms sound very babyish.
But there are Southerners who call all soda Coke, no matter what it is.
That's insane.
They will call an orange soda, a grape soda, a Coke.
What kind of Coke? Within Coke, everything
Makes them
is
sound
under that.
illiterate. Like it's crazy.
But Coke means soda to them. If you get beyond that, it's not just Coke.
Right.
You know what I mean? Coke just happens to be a Coke.
Well, when they want a Coke, what would they say?
Coke,
I guess a Coke.
They might say Coke Classic, New Coke.
You guys have root beer Coke?
Do you have any milk Coke?
Every beverage is a Coke. Really.
Maybe Coca-Cola. They would say the whole.
Here's Mike. Mike, what do you got?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
When I was growing up in late 70s, if you wanted to bum a cigarette from somebody, you'd say, do you have a doot? Any doots? I borrow a doot?
Doot.
Bum a doot?
A doot.
A doot. I never heard it anywhere else. And
I've never heard this either.
No.
I like it, though.
Oh, can I get a doot?
Can I grab a doot off you?
Yeah, give me a doot. You got a doot? Any doots?
I'm gonna go home and Google some of these because I think some people are making stuff up here.
Well, if some of these are just town and town only, I don't know whether they could even make Google. Like some of these are regional, but some just come from certain small towns.
Now, I wish I could remember what I found out that other people called this thing, but when I was in Florida, we did skeeter. When you would do this weird
when
spit.
the accidental spit that shoots out.
And it comes from the back.
Some people can skeeter on purpose.
Yeah, some people can do it purposefully, but it's a type of spit that's very from the back.
It's like when a woman finds a G-spot, but it's for your mouth.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Didn't you ever see that weird little spit that flies out?
Yeah.
Like comes from under your tongue or
the
back of your throat.
I saw a guy in a TV show would spit like that. Yeah.
So, yeah, when I moved to New York, I can't remember what it was that they called it, but they were like, what? And it was just as dumb of a name as Skeeter, but they were like, you're an idiot. Nobody calls it that.
Jay in Bakersfield. Jay.
When somebody got beat up in our town, it was called murked. They got murked.
Murked?
Murked. And referring back to Gale thing, I heard the Skeeter used to be called gleek.
Gleek, that's it.
I have heard that term before, too.
That's totally what it was.
Here's Murray in Florida.
Hey, I was seeing an ad that when going to college, if you got up from your seat in my fraternity and stuff, you had to call 3 minutes. You didn't get it for the whole night. There was no such thing as that.
So you'd have to have a 3 minute.
Everything was 3 minutes. You got up, and if you weren't back within the 3 minutes, you lost your privilege to sit in that seat.
All this came because then Naturman caught Chris Stanley stealing his slang earlier.
Thievery.
By the way, I was reading, back when I was a kid and we wanted to say he said something, we'd say he goes. So he goes.
Yeah, right.
And apparently that's completely gone now and been replaced by he's like.
Yeah.
Which apparently is relatively new. I never even noticed the transition, but a time in the 90s that changed.
I hadn't thought of it, but I used to say he goes.
Yeah.
And then he goes to me.
And then, but the goes, that's almost, kids today don't use goes, they use like. And in California for a brief period of time, they would use all. Like he's all, like the Gap Girls and SNL skit. But that's kind of gone now too.
But like is definitely the replacement. I wish we could go back to like says in the way like I says to him, I says.
I says to this
and
guy.
And this guy, he says.
I still use that. As you might imagine.
Well, you were in the show Newsies, so it would work for you. I remember people from California were the first people I ever heard say hella. And now it seems like it's gone national.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're over 20, it's kind of hard to get away with hella. I certainly couldn't say hella.
Yeah.
With a straight face, it would have to be tongue in cheek.
You could use it if you wanted to pick up those young freshmen that I was trying to throw at you.
Well, then I would say adorb. You guys are adorbs.
It's pretty cool.
Hey, Paul, what's up?
Hey, this when I was in the military.
Well, your thing just sounds terrible.
Huh?
You sound terrible.
I'm sorry. How do I sound now?
All right, go ahead.
Tin can.
I'm sorry, buddy. When I was in the military in the early 70s, the first time I heard was, let me hold $1 by the black group.
Yeah, and that means let me borrow a dollar from you when you say let me hold $1.
Right.
Bruce, go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, Ronnie, I just want to thank you for bringing me back to 1976 in Delaware County. And if you saw your buddy coming up, you're sitting at the hoagie shop eating a meatball sandwich, you knew you had to rip off a hunk for him.
You had to give hunks.
All right. Well, hoagie in and of itself is a Philly term.
Yeah, it is.
You just rip off a corner, and then you got flip, and then you got quarters, too. So if you got a quarter, you throw that up on a pinball machine, you got next.
That meant nobody else could come in because your quarter was sitting there.
Right, that's your place.
The fact
thank you for bringing that back, baby. I love it.
All right, talk to you later. But the fact that you would have to give away a piece of your food because someone yelled out, I see that.
I mean, even hunks, as much as it's frustrating, I can understand. Halves, that's a lot of your food.
Well, how about you could say no hunks, though, when you cut
You would have to yell it quickly. You know what I mean? You had to
like
yell.
a shot
Like
clock,
if I saw you, I'd have to yell no hunks. Then Chris walks up, I need to yell no hunks at him.
Yeah.
I can't have no hunks just hang around.
You already said no hunks earlier.
Yeah, I can't be known as a no hunks guy. You know? Here is Fran in New Jersey. Fran, go ahead.
Hi, Ron.
Yeah.
I grew up in Flatbush, and my husband doesn't understand that when we went out for ices, it was a lemon ice. It sounded crazy if we said Italian ice. It was a lemon ice. You could get a cherry. It was a cherry lemon ice.
Now, what does he call it, being from Jersey? Italian ices?
He says Italian ice, or this weird thing, a water ice, which I don't understand.
That's the way I grew up.
Yeah, water ice. That's a Philly thing.
Well, we say water. We say water ice. And then that makes people even more confused because they're like, water? Water?
Water ice.
Yeah. It is a flip-flop that you got to be willing to do that. But we can't get around. It seems crazy to me. But I do know people who say lemon ices.
Yeah.
And Chris, you were in Queens. What was that for you?
Italian ice is what we called it.
Some people would also call it shaved ice.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
It's like, you talk about bad branding. They did not even let America know what their product was called.
The love of God.
I remember we used to say fire plugs, too.
Fire plugs?
For what?
Yeah. Like you would open up a fire plug and run through it.
You mean a fire hydrant?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I heard plugs at first, and then you're like, fire plug, and then people are like, what are you talking about? But it does look more like a plug than a hydrant. Let's go over here to, here's Lauren. Lauren, what's up, buddy, in Minneapolis?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Yeah, I grew up in northwestern Minnesota, and when we went out cruising around and stuff out of town, we called it road tripping, but code for road tripping when we were going to go out drinking and driving was called trode ripping.
I've never heard this.
Road ripping is drinking and driving.
Yeah, basically. We were teenagers, and we'd go out and grab some beer and raise heck out on the gravel roads, and there was nobody out there, so we called it road ripping.
I remember when we would just call it drinking and driving. We did not know there would be any other reason to be out at night.
This is bad.
Here is Mike in New Hampshire.
Hey, how are you guys? When we used to get in fights as kids, if you got punched in the mouth, they used to call you Naturman lips.
Why, Mike?
Well, I don't necessarily take that as an insult.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Naturman has very full, glossy lips. Is that purposeful?
Well, see,
one could say that's a compliment.
I mean, who gets heckled from a phone, Mike?
Well, I'm just happy somebody knows who I am.
Well, you're well known, my friend.
Yeah.
Well known. Mike in Ohio. Mike, we got you?
I think Mike is gone.
He's gone. Jim in Iowa.
Yeah, I got two of them. One is when the road used to get icy and the kids would grab onto the bumpers and drag behind the cars. That's called hooky bobbing.
I can't remember our name for that, but I do remember doing it, that you could run out and grab a bumper and slide along, but I can't remember what we called it.
The other one, I still don't know what sounds so funny about this, but I had a guy that came from New York to Minnesota, and he thought it was the funniest thing if you were going somewhere to ask somebody, do you want to come with?
I think I remember saying that. You want to come with?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Come with. Yeah, totally.
And
Let's just use
when somebody dies, I say he's no longer with.
He can't come with. He just can't.
He wanted to. No longer with. Oh, he's no longer with. Sad, really.
It's awful.
We're here for Chris Stanley. He's no longer with. Finally choked on his own vomit last night, as we predicted for so many years. Tom in Tennessee.
Yeah, Ron, back when I was growing up, when you wanted to get up and you wanted to save your seat, we had to call King's X on it. That's what we called it back when I grew up.
You would say King's X.
King's X on
Never
that
heard
seat.
that.
This guy grew up down south.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I don't know where it come from.
Well, where did you grow up? What was your town?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, in Memphis.
Yeah.
So the king.
Yeah, you were probably talking about Elvis.
That's what you're talking about, the king.
It might have been in reference to Elvis. I don't know, but that's what. Anytime you wanted to, or if you wanted shotgun before you got in the car, you wouldn't say shotgun. You'd say King's X. I don't know. I don't know why.
Weird.
I'll tell you, anytime that I was in a car, I want to drive past Elvis's house, though, if I grew up where you did.
Oh, yeah.
I would have hopped the fence constantly.
You would have, the Lisa Marie would try to fly off in the Lisa Marie.
Now, was Elvis still alive when you were growing up?
Yeah, Elvis was still alive. I was just a kid when he died, but yeah, Elvis was still alive.
But that must have rocked that town, huh?
What's that, Ron?
It must have rocked that whole town when Elvis died. It must have been like when a Pope
Elvis,
died.
Unbelievable, the people that come. Elvis then he had the Memphis Mafia. They'd ride around on their motorcycles, arresting people. Oh, it was great.
You know, I saw some documentary somebody did of just the people that Elvis gave cars to. and he'd be out, and like somebody would do something. He's like, "You seem nice. Here, I want you to have this." He would just hand his keys over to people. And they were like, and he was leaving. They're like, "Well, how do we get this changed, Elvis? And what do we do about the registration?"
It's yours now.
No, it's yours, baby. Thank you for that. He's just leaving with some cheeseburgers. No idea how he's going to get home now. That was his world, Memphis. His world. Damn it, Naturman, thank you so much for stopping by today.
What a wonderful that you and your daughter work together like that.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
It's a nice energy.
And you and your daughter, oh, that's right.
I'm all alone.
No.
Maybe you could adopt one of those girls who came in.
Since you won't have sex with them, maybe that would be easier.
It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, that's even creepier.
Didn't that? I'll tell you something about Dan.
Yeah.
High morals for a stand-up comedian. High morals.
Dan co-hosts the Comedy Cellar show with Noam Dworman. Airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. East on Raw Dog Comedy Club. On tonight's episode, Judah Friedlander, Phil Hanley, and Keith Robinson.
How long was Robinson there?
For a spell.
By the way, I want everyone to know that it's our dear friend Shreka's birthday.
Happy birthday, Shreka. Love.
Yes, she's too young to date Dan. Now, I'm not going to give away I'm not going to say how old. Too young. Oh, look at this. Guess who's trying to book me tomorrow?
Who's that?
Looks like a couple of brothers are trying to get in touch with me to do Opie's show tomorrow with Opie.
Really?
La-dee-da.
But how long have they not paid attention to me?
You couldn't get on that show.
Thank you.
Blocking.
Thank you.
C blocking. I'm going to keep it classy.
I will only talk to Eric about the booking. No one else.
He must call him directly.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see everybody again in 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!